Please welcome to the stage Andrew House.
Good afternoon, everyone. 3.5 years ago, on a stage much like this, we presented our vision for the future of gaming and interactive entertainment. Our belief then, which continues to animate our efforts today, was how to make access to content and experiences vastly more simplified and streamlined. Our desire was and is to demonstrate the ways the living room would no longer be the center of the PlayStation ecosystem, the gamer would. Our success would rely not only on a package of next-generation technologies, but on reconceptualizing how the game consumer would want to play today, tomorrow, and in the future. PS4 was founded on the conviction of giving gamers the multi-dimensional and transformative play experiences they expect and deserve. Long-term partnerships with the best developers, a console with user experience at the core, a network that is faster, more social, more personalized, and brings entertainment to life like never before. With more than 40 million units sold worldwide, we are honored at the success the platform has achieved. However, we know there are still a large number of gamers waiting to join the PlayStation 4 family. That is why we will introduce a PS4 system that is slimmer, lighter, and more energy efficient. The new model, which is the standard PS4 moving forward, will appeal to a wider audience who are looking to buy the best interactive entertainment system for their home. Despite the sleek design, the new model packs all the same powerful components that have made PS4 the best place to play. With the new PS4 model, you can immediately enjoy exclusive entertainment experiences such as Uncharted 4 and PlayStation Vue, our cloud-based TV service. And the holiday season is just around the corner, with PlayStation VR launching next month, as well as an amazing lineup of PS4 games, including The Last Guardian, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and Watch Dogs 2. The new PS4 model will be in most markets by September 15th for $299, representing a tremendous value for gamers. For those who have yet to join the PS4 community, there's never been a better time. PS4 games continue to deliver new experiences that redefine interactive entertainment, and developers are just hitting their stride, pushing the graphics, narrative, and gameplay farther on PS4 than ever before. PlayStation 4 has indeed been the grand canvas that we hoped it could be, supporting a tremendous variety of titles from AAA to smaller digital games, all tied together with the PlayStation Network and our unique approach to social play. We have returned to the combination of creative breadth and commercial success that made the early years of PlayStation so distinctive. It was always our intention to design the PlayStation 4 as a platform to stimulate and fuel future evolution. This vision of the future and the architecture that would enable it was designed into the product from the very beginning. However, we realize that for the very highly discriminating gamer, there is always a desire for advancement, and they want it in this generation. As technology continues to evolve, bringing with it new ways to realize the aspirations of the gaming community, we're adjusting and accelerating our innovation cadence. One such technology we've focused on is display. Display technology offers so much potential if there is content to leverage what's now possible regarding visual acuity, precision, and high-resolution imagery. With PlayStation 4, we're pretty much maxing out what 1080 TVs can do with most games. Gamers and developers alike are always hunting for ways to heighten their gameplay experiences, which is why we're excited about 4K and high dynamic range, or HDR. 4K can deliver a level of detail and visual precision that's unprecedented. HDR contributes to enhancements in visual clarity, color, and luminance. It makes scenes far more realistic and truer to the way your eyes see and experience the real world. In the world of TVs, these two buzzwords have been circulating for a while now, but it's only now that we can start implementing these advancements in the context of gaming. Games are a natural for 4K and HDR. Developers want to deliver on the promise of their creative vision, and both these technologies enable them to make their games look better without the compromises. To provide users with even better gaming experiences, in conjunction with these technologies, we give you PlayStation 4 Pro. PlayStation 4 Pro will sit alongside and complement the standard PS4. We named it PS4 Pro to symbolize that it is part of this generation and targeted to the hardcore gamer or those who have invested in advanced display technology. At launch, PS4 Pro will become the #1 provider of high-resolution and HDR content. We will instantly have hundreds of hours of high-quality gaming experiences available in these exciting formats where you can truly see the difference. Now, to tell you more about the innovative technology behind the console, let me introduce PlayStation 4 lead system architect, Mark Cerny.
Thank you, Andy. When designing PlayStation 4, we had a vision of what gaming could become and created the necessary hardware to support it. We wanted a breadth of titles from AAA to indie, and so we made sure that PS4 was easy for developers to use. We believed in creating a frictionless experience for the gamer, and so we made sure to equip PS4 with a hard drive to shorten load times, as well as the required support for suspending and quickly resuming games and playing as you download them. With that hardware as a foundation, we were able to realize our vision. And as a result, a vibrant gaming community has grown around the console. PS4 Pro is not intended to blur the lines between console generations. Instead, the vision is to take the PS4 experience to extraordinary new levels. First and foremost, our goal is to deliver high-fidelity graphical experiences. With that in mind, we more than doubled the power of the GPU and adopted many new features from the AMD Polaris architecture, as well as several even beyond it. A number of hardware innovations support efficient rendering for 4K displays, allowing titles on PS4 Pro to reach resolutions not thought to be possible on console in 2016. For those gamers and developers who put a premium on achieving the smoothest frame rate possible, we're boosting the clock rate of the CPU. We understand that continuity of experience is important to the PlayStation community. Existing games will play as you're accustomed to on PS4 Pro, and we're providing a number of mechanisms for easily transferring your game library and entitlements from the standard model to the new console. We're also equipping PS4 Pro with a 1 terabyte hard drive to ensure that you'll have plenty of space for new experiences. The result of all these improvements is a console that provides unparalleled experiences for the 4K TV owner and truly excellent enhancements for those using HD TVs as well. We'll give you a detailed look at those aspects of PS4 Pro today, as well as show how transformative high dynamic range is for gaming content and what the new console offers for VR. 4K TV sets deliver an unprecedented level of detail. Today, we have, as an industry, been supporting 720p and 1080p HD TVs with 1 or 2 million pixels. 4K TVs provide a staggering 8 million pixels of display resolution. The achievable visual depth and detail are extraordinary. Brute force rendering techniques can, of course, be used to support these displays, but they have unfortunate consequences for console cost and form factor. So, with PS4 Pro, our strategy has instead been to foster streamlined rendering techniques that can take advantage of custom hardware. When coupled with best-of-breed temporal and spatial anti-aliasing algorithms, the results can be astonishing. The titles I'm about to show you are impressively close to realizing the complete potential of 4K displays. These scenes were recorded in real time from PS Pro hardware and are playing back in the theater on a 4K projector. For those of you watching this from home, after the show, we'll be making the footage available in 4K on video on demand so that you'll be able to better appreciate the quality of the imagery we are showing today. These first images are from Marvel's Spider-Man game, developed by Insomniac and announced at E3 this year. The detail of the city is incredible. Minute features such as the pedestrians in the distance would just be blurs on an HD TV set, but here they are crisp characters. As for Spider-Man himself, the texture of the suit is breathtakingly clear in a way that it could never have been before. Here is For Honor from Ubisoft, running on the new console. What we look for in games, the intensity and authenticity of experience, has never been more apparent. What you may find surprising is that the models and textures being used here, whether they be for the environment or for these two historic warriors, are in fact the exact same ones that were created for the standard PS4. The difference is in the high rendering resolution that PS4 Pro can support. It is simply transformative. Long vistas and high-resolution geometry, as seen here in Deus Ex: Mankind Divided from Eidos, also highlight the power of the console and capabilities of 4K displays. The extreme level of detail visible in the game environments and characters, such as augmented hero Adam Jensen, brings a greater intensity and welcome new reality to the experience. That sense of reality can also heighten the level of emotional immersion, here bringing us closer to Lara Croft's unique combination of toughness and vulnerability. With Rise of the Tomb Raider, Crystal Dynamics has taken great care to apply the power of the hardware to all aspects of the game, whether it be Lara's hair, face, clothes, or weapons, or the shaders, geometry, and special effects that give the environment solidity and realism. This is truly a showcase of how PS4 Pro can transform gaming. Next up are some scenes from Watch Dogs 2. I'll just let them speak for themselves. Finally, I'd like to show you some environments from Killing Floor 2. We know that diversity of gaming experiences is key to the appeal of PlayStation. Consequently, we've kept the simple programming model of PS4 intact, allowing smaller teams such as Tripwire to bring their titles to PS4 Pro and the new world of high-resolution displays. High dynamic range, or HDR for short, is without a doubt the most exciting advance in TV technology in the last decade. The world in which we live has an enormous range of luminosity, from dark nights to brilliant skies. Human vision has evolved to make the most of it, as well as to perceive a very broad range of colors. Unfortunately, the display devices that almost all of us use today, I'll just call them conventional TVs, fail pretty dramatically at representing this range of luminosity, and also can display only a fraction of the colors that the eye can see. HDR TVs do much, much better. Now for me, the really exciting part of this is that although games need to use different algorithms when rendering for HDR displays, typically involving deeper MRTs and tweaked tone mapping, supporting HDR does not require radical increases in processing power like 4K does. It's mostly a matter of connecting an HDR-capable device, such as PS4 Pro, to an HDR-capable display. To give you a feeling for the HDR difference, here's a picture of a San Francisco sunset. This is actually being shown to you using HDR TVs, but we are restricting the image quality to roughly what a conventional display can represent. Looks pretty, doesn't it? But here it is instead, using the full power of HDR. The difference is amazing. HDR is very new technology. Standards are still in flux, and the game creators are definitely still figuring out how to best take advantage of the displays. We will not expect all developers to initially support HDR on PS4 Pro, but for those that do, well, let me just give you a glimpse or two. Here is Days Gone from Sony's Bend studio, once again restricted to what a conventional TV can display. So this is utilizing all the detail of 4K, but the luminosity and color are quite similar to what was shown at E3. I'm going to turn on HDR now and show you what changes. Whatever it is that your eye expects to see to convince you that something is real, HDR is supplying that. The colors in the clothes, the brightness of the sun, these all represent a level of photorealism that you've never experienced in a game. Daytime scenes are great for showcasing HDR, but nighttime scenes show its potential as well. Here, the Freaker Horde has come out to feed. Luckily, crafting is a big part of Days Gone, and Deacon has managed to assemble a few Molotov cocktails. Those who played Naughty Dog's Uncharted 4 may remember this interactive chase scene. You're now seeing it at much higher resolution and in HDR, which makes it even more of a spectacle. Part of why image quality improves so much with HDR is that it's possible to have key areas of the screen, such as these explosions, that are dozens of times brighter than what a conventional TV can display. This is Fetch, the hero in Infamous Light from Sucker Punch. Fetch is a superhero who can harness the power of neon lights. If you think that sounds like something that would show off HDR well, you'd be right. We believe that the potential of HDR is incredible. But you don't need a 4K TV or an HDR TV to experience the benefits of PS4 Pro. The game knows what sort of display the console is hooked up to, and consequently developers are free to tailor the experience to best fit the type of TV being used. So if you connect PS4 Pro to an HD TV, here's some of what you'll see. First up is a comparison of standard model and PS4 Pro graphics on Paragon. Epic Games has chosen to increase the quality of the graphics in a great number of ways. Enhanced visual effects, procedural ground cover, higher scene complexity, greater texture fidelity, dynamic reflections, and more. Warner Brothers is supporting HD TVs on Shadow of Mordor with a number of different modes. Here you can see how supersampling anti-aliasing is used to bring the detail of the high-resolution imagery over to a 1080p display. This is For Honor from Ubisoft again, this time playing on an HD TV. You can see how the extra power of the new console is used to boost the visual density of the scenes, and also to bring much of the impressive richness of the 4K graphics over to lower resolution displays. So you may have noticed that several of these titles, including Paragon, Infamous First Light, and Shadow of Mordor, are titles that have already been released. That's another aspect of the PS4 Pro experience. A number of games that you already own may have been patched to play better on the console. We're referring to this upgrading of your library as forward compatibility. Patches for over a half dozen first-party titles are in the works, as well as quite a few from our third-party partners. Finally, I'd like to show you how PS4 Pro works with a PSVR headset. We are very proud of the breakthrough experiences that the headset provides with the standard model. With PS4 Pro, the developers can choose to increase the crispness of the VR scenes, make special effects richer, or to offer higher frame rates, making your VR experiences even more immersive. For Farpoint, Impulse Gear chose to focus on the detail and reality of the scenes. They have roughly doubled the rendered pixel count from that of the standard model, allowing them to breathe further life into their virtual universe. With PS4 Pro, we aim to provide developers with the tools and technologies that can further their creative vision. One developer that's truly embraced the potential of the new console is Guerrilla Games. Let's take a look at some never-before-seen gameplay from the highly anticipated Horizon Zero Dawn, which showcases what can be achieved on both 4K and high dynamic range displays. Thank you.
Nearly there.
Thanks very much, Mark, and thank you, Guerrilla Games. PS4 Pro will bring about a transformation in the way that gamers experience their favorite titles. At the same time, we're working hard to ensure that PS4 remains a single, unified community. The same discs and downloads will run on both the standard model and PS4 Pro. But they will play in multiple ways. In addition to support for the standard model, we're asking our publishing and development partners to consider how they can best support PS4 Pro on 4K TVs and also on HD TVs with each and every title. One great example of this transformation will be with the launch of Call of Duty. To share with you how Call of Duty is driving the new level of gaming experience on PS4 Pro, please welcome Activision CTO Andy Hendrickson.
His mic's not on.
On behalf of Activision and our talented studio teams, it's exciting to be here today to talk about our future with PlayStation 4 Pro. There's nothing else like Call of Duty. The immersion, that visceral feeling that you are starring in your own epic action experience. Our studio teams leverage every ounce of the console to deliver the greatest possible detail to surround players and immerse them in a stunning and lifelike world. Our developers couldn't be more excited about what PS4 Pro has to offer. With its greater memory bandwidth and enhanced GPU, we can now deliver richer textures and 4K graphics on top of our trademark 60 frame a second gameplay. I'm proud to share that this fall, Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered will support PS4 Pro out of the box day one. And for you Black Ops 3 fans, don't worry. Black Ops 3 will also support PS4 Pro on day one with an online title update. We're talking one unified Call of Duty community wherever they play, playing together on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 4 Pro. So let's take a look. This clip is from a mission called Operation Dark Quarry. During this mission, you and your crew answer a distress call from a mining facility on an asteroid that's been knocked out of orbit. It's a harsh environment. Because of its proximity to the sun, getting caught outside could be deadly. This is Call of Duty Infinite Warfare on PlayStation 4 Pro.
We're going down there. Search and rescue.
Stick together. Keep out of the sun.
900 degrees in the sun?
Find these civilians dead or alive.
Looks like a quake hit or something.
It'll take more than that to knock this place out of orbit. Everyone spread out. Let's see what we can find.
Coming for you.
Worker drones. Oh, why are they moving like that? What's going on the walls? Got a dead civilian here. Another one? Looks like his neck is broken.
He's good, Cash.
Drones must be tied to the power.
Hi everyone, I'm Aaron Flynn. Across EA right now, developers are combining the power of Frostbite with the power of PS4 Pro to bring even more amazing visuals and gameplay to our players. This year, both FIFA 17 and Battlefield 1 will support the new console. And early next year, we'll be bringing Mass Effect Andromeda to PS4 Pro. Yeah, thanks. Mass Effect Andromeda is going to take you to a whole new galaxy, and playing that experience on PS4 Pro is going to be incredible. You'll be totally immersed in Andromeda, discovering all new alien worlds brought to life with sharper graphics and high dynamic range lighting. We're also able to create more lifelike characters, which will continue to allow you to experience the best stories you can play. Let's take a peek at how Mass Effect Andromeda looks and plays on PlayStation 4 Pro. Here we find Ryder and his companions deep in an unexplored level of the game. Please enjoy.
Another remnant right in our way.
Watch your step, okay?
No sunlight, no water. They should all be dead.
The source of the system lockdown may yield more information. We appear to be close.
It made a new path. More remnant.
Remember, they don't turn nasty unless you get too close.
Will you look at that? Feel that? This whole platform's resonating with something. We must be close. No question. This is the heart of the vault.
All conduits converge here, Pathfinder.
That must be the lockdown console.
Is that the Helios cluster?
Yeah, there we are. All these points could be vaults in other worlds. Dormant like this one.
Hey, look there. The whole place is lighting up. Power readings are off the chart. Really off the chart.
But if it's back online, we should be good.
Rats right on our heels!
Thanks very much, Aaron. As you can see with the games shown today, PS4 Pro allows developers to push the fidelity as high as possible while retaining the best performance. For those who use their PS4 to watch movies, TV, or videos, PS4 Pro also has best-in-class 4K streaming services. We've had a long-standing relationship with Netflix, and that will not stop with PS4 Pro. I'm happy to announce that a new Netflix app will be available for PS4 Pro at launch, and by the end of the year, 600 hours of 4K content will be available on Netflix, including Narcos Season 2, which recently premiered, and Luke Cage, premiering September 30th. Both of these titles will support 4K and HDR. In addition, YouTube, which is already among the largest sources of 4K content anywhere, is developing an app for PS4 Pro that will support 4K content. We believe the potential of HDR is incredible and that it will transform gaming and entertainment in a manner that we haven't seen since the transition from standard to high-definition video, which is why every PlayStation 4, back to the very first console sold in 2013, will be HDR capable via a firmware upgrade next week. Thank you. Higher dynamic range means more realism, more visual beauty, and the broadest spectrum of colors ever realized on a console. With the proper display, all 40 million PS4 users can join the HDR revolution. At PlayStation, we're clear in our mission to make the gamer the center of our universe. We're steadfast in our commitment to be the best place to play. And we believe this current PS4 game development cycle is just hitting its stride. Some of the best games are still yet to come. So please take a look.
Farewell, my love, we'll be together soon. Take heed, sweet love, you'll never be alone. I'm watching from the heavens to keep you safe from harm.
Our vision is to present a clear choice to the gamer. We want to deliver the best games to our current gamers. We want to invite new members to join our community. We want to offer an option for those that want to heighten their gaming experience. So tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the new PlayStation 4 lineup. PS4 Pro, November the 10th, 2016, priced at $399. For both PS4 Pro and the new slimmer PS4, the value propositions are clear, and the choice ultimately remains with gamers. We invite you to experience PS4 Pro for yourselves next door after the show. Thank you, everyone, for your time and for joining us today. Thanks very much.
So Herman, I think
PlayStation blog. We just saw a lot of big news coming out of PlayStation tonight in the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York. Lots to go over, and I want to bring in my buddy, Mr. Sean Layden. Sean, come over here. I know you were sitting out in the audience. You took it all in here. So, Sean, you're chairman of Worldwide Studios.
Yes, and proud to be so. I think what we saw today was some great first-party content. I mean, Days Gone, I think it looked phenomenal.
Outstanding.
And Horizon coming out just in February next year. Looks like it's ready to go, but I'm sure there's still some more work to do on it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of news tonight. I mean, there was, we obviously had the slimmer PS4. We got a first look at that. And then we get this PS4 Pro. And I mean, this is designed not only for 4K displays, but also HD TVs. I mean, there's benefits kind of no matter which way you slice it.
Absolutely. I think the most exciting, pull quote from today's presentation for PS4 Pro anyway is November 10th, 2016.
Yeah.
That's in 2 months.
Yes. That's right around the corner.
Right around the corner, right in time for Christmas. I think we've managed to get the community together to support this exciting new standard, building it out for 4K resolution, building to support HDR. You saw the stuff on the screen today. And
it was spectacular, and I think if I have any regret, it's that folks can't be here to see it in person because it really pops. It really pops. Now, speaking of popping, I did want to touch base on this HDR news that we got.
Right.
We got the news that every single PS4 going all the way back
That's right.
to 2013 is going to actually end up supporting HDR.
We will have a firmware update, which will take every one of the 40-plus million PS4s across the world, make them HDR ready, make them compatible. Of course, Slim will do that, the new form factor for PS4 and PS4 Pro. So right across the board, anything that has PS4 on it will support HDR.
Now, one of the things, you're chairman of Worldwide Studios, so I think this is near and dear to your heart. When we were talking at E3, you were talking about how important kind of narrative is to developers and the developers at Worldwide Studios. And I mean, when we talk about this sort of higher fidelity, the greater intensity, the sort of heightened experience that you get out of like a PS4 Pro, the HDR, the high resolution. I mean, I can only think that contributes to all of that.
Oh, sure. I mean, you talk about getting emotion into your story and into your mise en scene and showing people exactly what the feeling of your characters are. I think HDR brings that capability right across the board to everything you do. You saw it with Days Gone. You saw the reflection of the light against Deacon's face and how he's looking at that horde coming up against him. HDR is just one more. It's like taking your color palette from 64 crayons to 64 million.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
It's huge.
We think it's going to be huge for the creators and for the medium. We couldn't be more excited.
That's right. Now we got a lot more for you actually here tonight. We're going to be talking to a lot of the folks that you saw out there on stage. We're going to learn more about the games that we saw. We're going to be learning more about Mass Effect Andromeda. That's one I know a lot of people.
That was a surprise.
That was a big surprise. A lot of people on Twitter have been talking about one. I've been wondering about that one. We got a first glimpse at it. We're going to learn more. We're going to learn more. We're going to learn more about Days Gone. And this one's looking gorgeous. This one, these guys have really been working away, getting that HDR in line, getting high resolution. We're gonna be talking to a lot of guys. A lot of the folks that you saw up on stage tonight, we're gonna have them here.
Oh, that's gonna be exciting.
And we're also gonna hear. I think this will please you. We've got a couple panels lined up too. So we're going to have a cross-section of some of the most talented graphical designers in Worldwide Studios.
Let them tell this story.
Yes.
They know exactly what they're talking about.
I mean, there is definitely a technology side to this, but
great.
But at the same time, I think, the games just look fantastic. You know what I mean? They look great.
Yes, they do.
It's pretty stunning.
Yeah.
Now, Sean, I know you got a busy night ahead of you.
Lots to do.
Lots to do. Lots to see. I hope you get a chance to get some hands-on time here. It's not going to be easy, though. You can kind of look out here that we have members of the press, media. They're checking this stuff out for the first time.
It's one of our shortest stage events ever. I think we clocked in at 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But because of this, you've got to get your hands on. You've got to see it to really appreciate the entire impact of that.
It's huge. It's huge. So, Sean, appreciate you joining us. I know you got a lot to see and do.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Sid.
All right. So have a great one.
We'll catch up with you later.
All right. Absolutely.
All right, cheers then.
And so, like I said, we have a lot more in store. We're going to be coming up shortly with Horizon Zero Dawn. We're going to be talking to Guerrilla Games' Herman Holst. Guerrilla, obviously known for technical prowess. We've seen it through the Killzone series. We're going to see what these guys are up to with PS4 Pro. So let's check in with Horizon Zero Dawn and much more to come.
Hey everyone, thank you so much. And Herman, hello from Guerrilla Games. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
It's so nice to have you here. We, of course, I was just like kind of distractedly looking at Horizon Zero Dawn.
As am I.
So we were just talking about Horizon Zero Dawn as being shown on PlayStation 4 Pro. It is so exciting to be able to talk about this. What does PS4 Pro mean to not only you and your team as developers, but also for a game like Horizon Zero Dawn?
I mean, it is a great thing for us. I mean, as a studio, we're all about new hardware and what we can do with that. But for this project specifically, it's about a very large open world. So having these massive draw distances, and for us to be able to have these details, just look at that foliage in the back, to be able to project that, it's fantastic to give that to the consumer. But also, this world is all about beauty, majestic beauty. And just look at the light in the sky, and if she turns around, you look at the shadows and you see all the detail. It just takes the experience, to me, to the next level. So I'm really, really psyched up about it.
Absolutely. From a more technical standpoint, are there particular aspects of the hardware that you guys really feel like has been beneficial to you, building something that has such large scope?
I mean, I think it's the overall power of the PlayStation 4 Pro. Still getting used to the name, of course. It's everything. It's both the 4K capability as well as the HDR that together, I think, makes up this fantastic image.
Absolutely. Now, tell me a little bit more about the game. I mean, obviously, we're seeing some new footage here in New York City, debuted today, so that's probably of particular importance to you guys. Tell us a little bit about what we're seeing. For example, the tall neck. Did I get it right?
The tall neck, yeah. So the tall neck. So first of all, she's in a new ecotope here. This is the jungle. So we've seen kind of these snowy landscapes before. We've seen some desert before. She's in a more jungle type environment. So she's taken out a scout here. She's on her way to go up to that tall neck, and she wants to hack that thing.
Okay.
Right? And that's going to give, well, let's not get into what kind of perks it's going to give you.
Okay.
But it's an important thing because it's going to unlock a whole lot of abilities for you, open up parts of the world to you.
Yeah, you don't want to give too much away.
Well, maybe not
for our hero Aloy here.
2.5 minutes worth.
Who we were just discussing is like the coolest person ever, so I'm very excited to play Horizon.
I think you said you were in love with her, didn't you?
That might have been you. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think it might have been you.
I'll admit.
And then tell me a little bit more about in terms of building a world like this. I mean, this must be incredible for the folks at Guerrilla Games because this is you guys as a team stepping into new territory and kind of quite literally because it's so, it's this incredible new world. It's on new hardware. I mean, tell me about what that's like.
I mean, it is a wonderful opportunity. It's by 1.5 miles the most ambitious project we've ever done, ever taken on.
Just compared to all your other projects.
Even compared to doing a launch title. For PlayStation 4, it is a very large world. We wanted to go after a different kind of beauty. So the grit beauty of Killzone, but now this kind of lush, wonderful, natural world. And again, the new brightness and the new crispness of the image here. I'm just looking at it myself on the screen. I haven't seen a television screen this nice before.
We're going to play it for our audience after we're done talking, so they'll be able to see it. Share.
And so there's a lot about this project. The fact that it's a new franchise, the fact that we are creating this lead character, Aloy, that is. I think she's able to execute what we're good at Guerrilla, which is tactical combat. Right? We kind of honed our skills with Killzone. Now we're letting her go all out and doing that. And that's what this game is about, tactical combat.
So what are some of the lessons that you as a studio learned from Killzone that, specifically in combat, kind of apply to Aloy? Because that is still a huge leap going from like first person, a little more, I don't want to say traditional science fiction, not to say that Killzone isn't unique, but now going to sort of almost a post-apocalyptic science fiction here with Horizon.
Well, the thing is, the Killzone obviously was a science fiction game. Horizon is as well, right? It is nothing about that is fantasy. Everything is based on science and what we're doing. Clearly, the machines. I mean, we practiced a little bit with mechs, and we're taking that forward. The machines are a very essential part of this game. But then we started experimenting in the past, the Killzone franchise, with some more open levels. We're taking it to a seamless, wide open world. There's a lot of things that we're kind of pushing in many different directions. You can see the flying Glinthawks over there, just to add that little character to the world.
The level of distance you get in the image is just incredible, by the way, running on the Pro hardware. But yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the combat then, because Guerrilla Games prides itself on combat, kind of that deep tactical element.
Absolutely.
There's an element of kind of using your instinct and your senses, survey the landscape. That seems like it's very applicable here in Horizon.
So you look at Aloy compared to these machines. I mean, she's clearly. She has the size difference is massive. She will be typically outgunned, so she will have to be very clever. So preparing for combat is very important. She's got her traps, she's got her tripwires, and then once she engages, It is, I mean, she's very fast, she's very agile, so we're building this whole game. You see the climbing mechanisms, the way she dodges, everything is very fluid, and the combat is supposed to be very fluid. We make that a consistent goal for this project. So it is also important in the combat that she can actually evacuate and re-stealth. She should be able, when there are too many machines of different kinds in her vicinity after her, then she should be able to retract and reconsider. She's going to re-engage or maybe get out. So it's kind of like preparing, engaging, and then evacuating after if necessary.
And I guess I don't even think about that a lot, is that there is a stealth component to Horizon. I mean, is that important for you guys as a studio to kind of have to balance out those moments of intensity with moments of quiet and planning?
Absolutely. I mean, different players have been playing this game in a very different way. So some people really like to hide out in the tall grass and take...
Just chill.
Well, not
like
really.
Maybe have
chill
a drink.
And look around. You can do that too, right? But also maybe pick out the machines one by one instead of kind of engaging a whole, or have, say, a watcher alarm the rest of them. So you get in trouble and a lot of chaos. Some people just like that slower paced combat, and that's fine too. I mean, there's a ton of different ways to play this game, to engage, but also to build up your Aloy.
And then how about in terms of the enemy design? Because that obviously plays a huge role in the combat as well. You're dealing with such... They're both familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. Like to me, they kind of course, they're reminiscent of like prehistoric creatures, but they have such an alien element too. I mean, how do you guys deal with designing something like that?
So most of them are based on real-life animals.
Yeah,
and there's a purpose to that, because obviously when you see an animal, you expect a certain behavior. And you saw kind of a deer-like or herd-like machines out there, so you expect them to flee when you're after them. But if there's a more aggressive looking animal-like machine that you recognize from the wildlife, then you will be more careful. So there's a purpose to that.
Okay, excellent. Well, I know we're running a little short on time, so I just want to ask you, maybe what is like your final takeaway from this event here in terms of the PS4 Pro? I can't even say it still.
Yeah, PS4 Pro. That's right.
PS4 Pro hardware. What is kind of a highlight for you, and what do you feel like is the most exciting thing looking forward for this technology?
What I love about it is that there will be kind of the ultimate offering for people that want to go the extra mile and get a great experience, and they get an even better resolution at get the smoothest possible frame rate. But at the same time, I want to ensure and say, if you have a base model PlayStation 4 and you've seen our game playable at E3 and people said it looked amazing, I can tell you it's going to look even better when it comes out. So whether you get the baseline model, you get Horizon for baseline, or you get it for PlayStation 4 Pro, you can have an amazing experience.
I mean, that's something that we should reiterate before I finally let you go and you can actually mingle with everyone tonight, is that Horizon Zero Dawn is going to be fully playable, beautiful, amazing on the standard PS4 model. But you guys can get a little extra mileage out of that PS4 Pro hardware as well.
I might get one myself.
Really?
Yeah, I might.
I feel like we would just mail it to you or something. Maybe. We'll talk after this, and then maybe I can set you up with something.
Wonderful.
Does that sound okay?
Thank you.
Herman, thank you so much. It was a pleasure seeing you. And now finally, for those at home who have looked at us, I mean, handsome guys, especially this guy here, but maybe we want to look at this instead. Let's give you guys another look at this footage running on PlayStation 4 Pro, Horizon Zero Dawn. Stay with us.
Nearly there.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back. I'm joined by Chris from Ben Studio. Hello, sir.
Hi.
Thank you very much for joining me. We are talking about Days Gone. There's the logo right here. You guys, this is a very exciting time because we showed a little bit of footage from Days Gone running on PlayStation 4 Pro hardware. Tell me a little bit about what the Pro hardware not only means to you as a developer, but also kind of to specifically the project that you guys have been working on.
Well, for Days Gone, it's really exciting working with the PS4 Pro. You know, what it's really providing us now is a visual clarity that we haven't been able to see before. It's just super astounding. You know, so the details of the environment really pop now. You know, the character details, the color, the vibrancy of it. It's just amazing. And you know, when we first got it up and running and put it out in front of the team, it was a game changer. It was a jaw-dropping experience.
Jaws were on the floor.
Yeah.
And then tell me a little bit about the specific technologies of the PS4 Pro that you guys feel like have been most beneficial to you as a studio.
Well, I mean, the resolution, increase in resolution has been that was the first step, getting that up and running, and that was great. And again, it's like our character artist came in and saw Deacon and actually could see all the stitching detail.
Tears running down their face.
In the clothing and everything. So all that detail that they had been working on is now, absolutely
That's amazing.
Stunning.
So it's not even on the technical side, but it's also like these are the kind of technologies that also, from an artistic perspective, put that stuff out there more in front of the player as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it's an open world environment, so we have a lot of scenes where you're going into dark interiors to bright exteriors. So trying to manage that exposure in lighting, on a SDR TV, regular TV, is pretty tough. We do a lot of work to make that feel right.
Sure.
But then when we put HDR in, all of that just becomes natural. It's like you're looking out the window of your office, which in our case in Bend is what you see in the game.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this game just based on your office and the surrounding environment? I mean, it's gorgeous.
Some of it, most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. And I think that's actually the point you made about looking out of a window. I think that's one of the best ways to illustrate what HDR can do, is sort of that ability to more naturally show off to the player like what the human eye can see, right?
Yeah.
Because, anytime you try and take a picture and you're like, you can either get the window or you can get what's, behind the window.
Yeah.
But here, you kind of, when you guys are panning that camera by, and it's just incredible, the lighting effects. I mean, what is that like for, teams like your lighting team, your art team? I mean, is that like just like open up new tools for them to use when it comes to game development?
It really does, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, our goal from the beginning was to have, a visual realism in the environment, that we've always been striving for. So once we turn on HDR, the colors that the artists have been putting a lot of work in and trying to balance all that stuff all just naturally comes out.
Yeah. And now, what about in terms of, obviously, the Pro hardware is a little more powerful. People and developers are able to achieve, more stable, performance. Right. Is that must be particularly pertinent in an open world game, because open world games very demanding. Your game is, may I say, looking very nice. So that, of course, is a strain on the hardware. But with the Pro hardware, I mean, suddenly you guys can play around a little bit more. I mean, is that of benefit to your team as well?
It is a benefit. I mean, and even for gamers that haven't upgraded to 4K yet,
right,
they're still going to get a huge benefit, visual benefit. Even
that's an important point.
It is, because in 1080p, now on PS4 Pro looks amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about the game then. If someone's just, let's say they just tuned in. Right. This is the first time they've ever seen Days Gone. Give me the full summary on what players can expect here.
So Days Gone, it's an open world game. It's about Deacon St. John.
This handsome fella right here.
Yes, exactly. He's a drifter bounty hunter. It's 2 years after a global pandemic that's wiped out the world. And his background, he comes from, MC, so he's rough and tough as it is and been through a lot, but now he's going through a lot more. The world is super dangerous, and it's just sort of following his journey.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys first revealed this at E3 this year, correct me if I'm wrong,
yes.
And I mean, that must have been a spectacular feeling for you guys to have worked on something for so long and then you finally get to show it off, right?
It was awesome.
Now, in terms of dealing with kind of an open world, obviously this gentleman is using a motorcycle to get around. I mean, that must play a role in the game design that you guys are putting together.
It absolutely does. Again, this is 2 years after everything went wrong.
Went sour.
Yeah.
Went real
really,
south.
really bad. So, the roads have deteriorated. Being able to get around and be very maneuverable. Deacon, being a biker on a bike, can get around in that environment much, much easier.
Does that mean that the way that your team sort of lays out the world, like building things, I mean, does that actually change the way that they're creating environmental design? I mean, does the
absolutely.
Transportation informs that back and forth?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All that's taken into account.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, does that mean that if your gentleman here, Deacon, can get around on a motorcycle, do you guys suddenly have to build, start to get bigger and bigger? Because, I mean, you're dealing with fast transportation here.
Right.
I mean, how do you take that into account?
I mean, it's just a matter of, coming up with interesting environments that he has to traverse. But the bike also plays a big part in setting up for whatever mission he's about to take on, right? So it's about carrying supplies with him, but also being very nimble. Being able to get out of a situation.
It's your mobile HQ.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the combat. Actually, we're kind of seeing on the screen here that using the Molotov cocktails, which of course look great on the Pro hardware.
Yeah.
But a little bit about the combat design in Days Gone. I mean, how is Days Gone separate from other third-person open-world games?
Well, again, we're paying a special attention to the environment. We're calling it sort of this sandbox combat. So it's really up to the player looking at the environment, seeing how he can take advantage of it, craft specific weapons based on what's around him, and bring those kind of weapons into the battle with them. So there's a lot of preparation. To take into account, especially when you're going up against, as you see, the Horde.
Do you feel like hoarders and people that like to collect stuff are going to get a kick out of this?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Just scavenging through the environment. I mean, there must be a survival element to this game as well, considering that, as we have discussed, the world has kind of fallen to pieces.
Yes,
and Deacon has to make do with what he's got.
Yep.
Does that inform your guys' design in terms of weapons, items, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's a natural progression, as you progress through the story. And
anything you can share with us in terms
yet.
We're so close.
I know, so close.
Okay, well, before we wrap up, I kind of want to know, in terms of you as a developer, what do you take away from the PS4 Pro hardware, and what do you feel like has been really beneficial to you guys as a team?
It really has. I mean, it's...
Anything in particular, like any specific elements that you feel like you guys were like, wow, this was it?
When we got HDR running, that was
the turning point?
That was the moment.
Okay.
It really was a game changer.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for joining me today. I
yeah.
really appreciate it. And, of course, thank you to all of you watching at home. Just a quick reminder that a lot of this amazing footage that Chris and I are chatting about will be available to view in 4K in the days to come on Video On Demand and including on YouTube. So please stay tuned for that. Also, please stay tuned because we are going to be hearing from some of the top developers at Worldwide Studios and beyond about some of the ways they are able to leverage the PS4 Pro to create heightened experiences for you, the video gamer. So please do not go anywhere. We have more to show you coming up. Stay with us.
Mark, it's been almost 3 years since the launch of the PS4. What's the response been like from your perspective?
PS4 has really been embraced by the development community, first and third party, and as a result, it's become an amazing generation for PlayStation. It's got the diversity of games that I love. I think that's really central to the PlayStation DNA. I mean, just in the past few months, I've been able to play The Witness, which is indie, Doom and Shadow of the Beast, which are a sort of remake, and AAA blockbuster games like Uncharted 4. So the hardware question becomes, how do we keep all of that going and innovate at the same time?
Hence the sort of mid-cycle refresh that PS4 Pro represents.
Yes, exactly. PS4 Pro is not the start of a new generation, nor is it a console that's going to blur the lines between generations. That's important because there's a certain cadence to game development. At the start of a generation, there's a lot of adjustment and learning as the developers dig into the tools and technologies that we provide them. That's great because it allows them to create entirely new types of games. But at the same time, there's a certain cost associated with that. PlayStation 4 Pro, arriving as it does mid-generation, means that our target is to take the whole PS4 experience to a new level, and to do so without the kind of disruption that moving to a new console generation would entail.
You mentioned taking the PS4 experience to a new level, so tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that.
So for game content, the new console is targeted primarily at higher fidelity graphics and smoother frame rates. And these are great areas for us to focus on because they don't alter the fundamental gameplay. The creator's vision is just represented in a richer fashion.
What is the development community saying about PS4 Pro so far?
Support's been great. The developers and publishers have been very quick to adopt the new platform. With PS4 Pro, for all new titles, we're asking the developers to support 4K with higher resolution graphics and the like, and also HD TVs through higher quality graphics.
Is there a sort of risk associated with designing a console that taps into 4K and HDR, especially when there's not a lot of TVs out there that support those features right now?
UHD 4K TV has definitely arrived. I believe that something like a third of the TV sets sold this year will be 4K TVs. HDR is definitely a bit further out there in terms of adoption, but it's great having the console out now because it means that the game experiences will be ready and waiting as HDR penetration increases. Having said that, you don't need to have a HDR TV to enjoy the benefits of PS4 Pro. The game experience is enhanced in any number of ways with an ordinary HD TV. Now, I should also say that all of this strategically dovetails very nicely with our initiative into VR. We're anticipating that the games will be much crisper and have more detail to the graphics on PS4 Pro.
So Mark, how do you see the PS4 Pro and the standard PS4 fitting together?
We're working very hard to ensure that PS4 remains a single, unified community. The games are playable on both consoles, of course. It's the same discs and downloads, the same online community. Most of the user experience is quite similar. The main difference is that with PS4 Pro, we're giving developers an opportunity to make their games more impactful and immersive. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the developers take advantage of all of that.
Hey guys, welcome back. We're here live at PlayStation Meeting in the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York. And I wanted to get a hold of really, honestly, what are some of the best graphics designers in the entire world, and just sort of sit down and take a couple minutes to just kind of digest all this information we've been hearing, whether it's PlayStation 4 Pro, HDR, 4K. What does this all mean for the average gamer? So joining us, we have JB here from Guerrilla Games. Welcome, JB. Thank you. Great to have you. We've got the great Al Hastings from Insomniac Games. And we've also got Christian from Naughty Dog. Glad you guys could join us. So first things first, I mean, what are we dealing with here? Oh, looks like we have a mic problem there. Tell us a little bit from your perspective, when we see all these details about PS4 Pro, how does this thing stack up to the standard PS4 from a power perspective?
Well, it's about twice as powerful. Actually, probably a little bit more even. And there's also extra CPU boost, so it's a lot faster there as well. In general, basically, it can do things very close to 4K. And that's an amazing achievement in itself. Looking at our own game, it already looked very good at 1080, but now at 4K, it's really, really so crisp and refined.
What do you think, Al?
There's also a couple extra little pieces of hardware in there that are really clever, really nice refinements. So in addition to the 2+ improvement to the GPU's like core horsepower, there's there are a few extra twists that help you achieve that 4K level of fidelity.
Yeah, I mean, the support of HDR, that's for us is not at Naughty Dog. That's what we burn. I mean, it really allows us to show the immersive world we intended to really show. I mean, this thing has been living inside of the machine this whole time, and we're really just now being able to, thanks to the PS4 Pro, we're able to output that to the new TVs. And I mean, we're seeing it already with people going and watching the TVs backstage here. And yeah, the response is overwhelming, really.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make. It's like, for the last couple years, developers have really been diving into, physically based rendering, image-based lighting, so internally, we've got this richness, this high dynamic range in there that really hasn't been able to come out. We're squashing everything, cramming it into a narrower color space on a standard TV. The chance to actually let that out on one of these new ultra def TVs, it's pretty exciting.
That was a big leap, basically getting the first 4K TVs, HDR TVs in the office. And we turned them on, and our sunsets suddenly were so bright and vibrant that people are actually saying, like, oh, we're going to need to wear sunglasses.
Yeah, I mean, we have some of these TVs set up backstage. We've got HDR going on a number of these games. And there are times where I am almost kind of like, when it's really bright, you're almost, whoa. HDR, that's one we're going to come back to shortly. That's one we're hearing a lot about tonight. Obviously, it's coming to all PS4s, going the whole way back to the original launch lineup in 2013, of course, as well as the PS4 Pro. But we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that topic as well. But I want to back up for a second and talk about these 4K displays, these 4K TVs that are out there. A lot of folks, I think, at home are probably wondering. I mean, obviously, 4K TVs still sort of nascent. It's growing quickly, but it has not reached sort of critical mass yet. So I think a lot of people are sort of like, 4K TV, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for a gamer? So what do you guys think about that?
I mean, once you've experienced the game in 4K, then only then do you know what you've been missing out on. The PS4 Pro is really enabling more data to get sent from the device to the TV, because it's an enormous amount of data to power these big 4K TVs. There's, like Mark was saying earlier, there's 8 million pixels that need to be fueled with new content every single frame. And we really weren't able to push that on the standard PS4. I mean, we can still deliver great images, but once you take the step up to the PS4 Pro and we make these enhancements...
It is like the step from the PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3, where we went from standard definition to HD. And now this, basically, it's the first time that you see it, you go like, holy, whoa. And then it's also really hard to go back, where you're just switching back. It's like,
it's tough to go back. But I've been a fan of the TVs for a while, but I don't personally own one because there just hadn't seemed to be enough content to really compel it. you're mostly still watching upscaled stuff that was sort of authored at the lower, the 1080p resolution. But it's sort of an interesting place now where a video game console is sort of set to lead the content toward, real 4K. I don't know. It seems like an exciting change of pace.
I mean, sorry to interrupt you, Sid. To kind of ground the higher resolution in something that's very tangible is, as you're playing through the game and you're walking around the game worlds, one of the drawbacks that we've had for a long time with regular HD TVs is that there's only so much we can do with the pixels. Like, they are as big as they are, and so you end up getting artifacts. And that's the nature of the beast, right? We do our best. It still looks great, but you're getting, like, shimmering. There's some of that, like, the jagginess going on. And it has a tendency of deterring from the overall game immersion and the game feeling. But now, when that kind of gets toned down, it's almost removed.
Yep.
Now you can just enjoy the game for what it's trying to be. I'm a believer, obviously.
It is striking, but one of the things, we're seeing a lot of these high-resolution games running on these 4K TVs, and I got to say, seeing them backstage, it really is something else. But, interestingly, and this is not a term I had really heard a lot, I think, before tonight, HDR. I mean, there are those who are saying they think HDR is just as important as the higher resolutions that you get through the 4K TV. So, Al, I see you nodding your head there. Why is HDR something to get excited about?
Well, so these new TVs can achieve a peak brightness that's sometimes more than 10 times what you could get in a more standard HD TV. You can't blanket the whole screen with 10 times. You'd probably go blind and blow a fuse. But you can get key parts of the image can achieve that level of brightness, and then the whole rest of the image can sort of use that extended range. So you see contrast, you see details emerge. The Uncharted demo is a great example of this. That you see detail emerge that just wasn't visible before. So you almost get the sense that the resolution increased just by the high dynamic range.
Yeah, I think with HDR you're getting much closer to what the human eye does. So what you see in nature, what you see in real life, that's sort of how it looks on the television. And maybe to call it a paradigm shift is correct. It's sort of like going from stereo to a full 5.1 audio set.
Interesting, yeah.
But, where suddenly you feel the subwoofer. And maybe this is the same thing, maybe, where actually brightness is really bright. It's not just whitish on the screen. It's actually really bright.
That's fascinating stuff.
One thing to because HDR is such a new concept, well, it's not new, but for us, kind of like TVs and especially for gaming consoles to be able to output this kind of thing is two things. One, it's not just the brights. We're also talking about the really dark areas in your scene now actually has more range. Like, we're able to show more of the dark colors. So you will see detail inside of the darks that you couldn't see before. But like, as a person that's never seen HDR, that might not know what we're talking about, I can say, try taking a picture of your friend with the sun behind them. Or even like you're inside and it's really bright outside and trying to take a picture, and no matter how you tune the camera, either you're going to see the face of your friend and it's going to be completely white outside, or you'll see the outside and your friend is basically completely black. And that's because of the high contrast ratios and the lack of high dynamic range. With us now being able to show that, it's adding yet another tool, really, because it's an artistic tool to the artist. Like, we don't, as a game creator, we don't have to make the sun so bright that you need to wear like sunshades to see it. But we have the ability of making explosions, or whatever things that makes the most sense, to be that bright and to communicate that the way you would see that in the real world.
Kind of an expanded palette for the artist, if you will.
Very much so.
You like that? No, we're talking a lot about 4K type technology. HDR not exclusively limited to 4K televisions, although that's generally where we're seeing that technology expressed. But I do want to spend some time to talk about the benefits for HD TVs with PS4 Pro, because this is a big point. I mean, tell me a little bit about what you guys are seeing. You guys are on the ground. You're working with PS4 Pro. What are the benefits for those who maybe aren't in the market for a 4K TV or they're perfectly happy with their HD TV? There's still a lot going on there, too.
So what you're getting on a normal HD screen is something that we call super sampling. This is something from the visual effects industry, from movies like Star Wars, where you take a whole bunch of pixels and make one pixel out of it again. And basically you get such a sharp definition. You don't see any shimmering anymore, no aliasing as they call it. And it just basically creates a very crisp image, even on a normal 1080 screen.
Yeah, you do get a sense of the detail. You do get sort of a temporal stability that is hard to achieve at just sort of standard 1080p. Because you're packing essentially more information into each pixel. As the image quality improves, it's not the same thing as seeing it in 4K, of course, but it's a noticeable improvement. It makes a real difference.
Yeah, I mean, it should be noted, too, that as developers, we get access to whether or not the user has a 4K compatible TV or a 2K TV connected to your whether it's the base PS4 or the PS4 Pro. So we can make decisions if we want to use the type of technique that Al and JB are talking about, the kind of a super sampling kind of deal, or like some other games we're showing where they're actually cranking up ground cluttering and just making the world feel a little richer. There's definitely a benefit, whichever way the developer choose to go. There's a benefit for regular HD TV users as well.
And then there's also the option of a much more stable frame rate. Of course. So, of course, no game is perfect, and you're going to drop a frame here and there. Unless, of course, you're Naughty Dog. But, if you have a high action-based shooter or something like that, you're going to drop a couple of frames. And basically, what the Pro does is basically that it smooths that all out. Basically, you don't have frame drops anymore. It's just a perfect smooth 30. Or 60 if it runs at 60.
I think the Paragon demo showed some of what Christian was talking about, where they took a different direction than just going for image quality. And again, with PlayStation Pro, you have more CPU to play with as well, which could allow you to increase actors' physics. And I think they were showing more grass detail, more little physics objects. So certainly up to the creators to use that however they see fit. The super sampling technique is sort of an easy way to get a solid win, but you could be more creative about it too.
One of the things I've been hearing a lot too when it comes to PS4 Pro is just there's a lot of choice. There's a lot of choice for developers about how they harness all that power. If they want to go into the really high resolutions, they can do that. If they want to focus on frame rate and fluidity and smoothness, they can focus in on that. HDR obviously is going to be something that's across the entire PS4 family. Richer visual detail as well is something that we're hearing. So really, it's kind of the choice is where it belongs in the hands of the actual developers versus having to be pigeonholed in one thing or another,
Well, that is also for the player itself. He has that choice itself.
Absolutely.
You can choose whether you could go 4K and buy a big television, or rather than 1080 at a very smooth frame rate. It's really about the choice there.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, yeah.
Well, one thing to note here is just comment on the frame rate is everyone is trying to be really cognizant that the game will not run faster, like higher frame rates, unless you're playing like a single player style of game. But if you're playing multiplayer games, it will be the same playing field for like base PS4 users, PS4 Pro users. You're still running the same frame rate. Yes, you're running at a higher resolution. You might be seeing it in HDR, but overall, it's a level playing field otherwise. We're not benefiting the PS4 Pro users and skewing the community.
That's a good point. Exciting stuff. So we are running out of time, but I did want to take a moment here to touch on what each of you gentlemen are personally most excited about. You're all when it comes to PS4 Pro, you're all graphics professionals. This is what you live and breathe and eat this stuff every single day. So this is right up your alley, right? Something like PS4 Pro. So why don't we go right down the line? JB, why don't you start? Tell me what it is that you're most passionate about, what you're most excited about with PS4 Pro.
Well, so for Horizon, it's all about these epic, majestic landscapes. And we've been putting so much effort in getting the sunsets to look right and getting all the clouds to look right. And this is something basically where, especially HDR, has such an enormous punch. Basically, you just sit there and you go like, that's just real. And that's really exciting to see, basically. And also, basically, for the artists working on it, basically, to finally get that vibrancy, basically, that you see in real nature on the screen is really rewarding.
That's great. Al, what are you most passionate about here?
Well, so I mean, I'm enmeshed in the Spider-Man game, and we're trying to like bring to life a realistic and really detailed version of New York. And this place, it's a beautiful day here today. I was out taking HDR photos, trying to get some reference, and there's so much detail to this city, and to be able to see it in 4K and HDR, to see the detail emerge and come to life, it adds a level of realism that almost like your eye craves that detail to know it's a real image, to give it that sense of reality, and to see that come to life and increase the immersiveness. I'm really excited.
It's awesome. What do you think, Christian?
Well, as being a big part of Naughty Dog, like, I live and breathe everything we do at work. I love our games, and we pride ourselves on pushing the visual fidelity, telling like immersive stories, grounded stories, and being able to do that now through the PS4 Pro and like the new brighter colors that we can show the user and really remove some of the it really improve on some of the detail that we're seeing backstage here. I mean, the future is really amazing, and the guys at work, me included, are really excited, especially about the HDR. It's a new avenue that hasn't been tapped into for many years. We've seen resolution changes. That obviously is making a big difference already, going from 2K up to 4K. But this is where games will really shine, no pun intended.
Especially when they're that's a good one. Especially when you're really building them from the ground up for this new technology. I think that's what gets exciting. I mean, PS4 is not going anywhere. Standard PS4 is here to stay, but I think there's a lot of interesting opportunity with this new technology.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at the games back there, and many of the games we're seeing, some are being kind of modified to support 4K HDR, but if you build with that in mind from the ground up, now I think you'll see some really spectacular things.
It's exciting stuff, and guys, I really appreciate you joining us here on the PlayStation Livecast. So go back there. I hope you get a couple minutes to check out all the other stuff that's on store. And, hey, we're here live at PlayStation Meeting. We've got a lot more. We're going to be diving into a lot more games. But before we do that, let's check in with an interview I had with Mr. Mark Cerny. He's the lead system architect on PS4 Pro. So, Mark, when did you decide to actually move forward with designing the PS4 Pro?
We actually started thinking about the new console pretty much as soon as PlayStation 4 shipped. It was clear that during this generation, 4K TV penetration would become pretty significant at some point, and we wanted to see if we could get something out there in the market to support it. Once we realized that the increased processing power that was necessary for 4K could be used to make the graphics better on HD TV as well, PS4 Pro simply became a must-do.
So, Mark, tell us something we don't know about the creation of PS4 Pro.
Okay. So during the creation of the hardware, I casually asked a very famous director at one point, and I'm sorry, I can't say his name, what he thought we should be doing next for hardware. And he described essentially the exact details of PS4 Pro. I mean, the synchronicity here, that we would all be thinking along the precise same lines, I mean, it's so intense that the hair on my arms was standing on end. And he remembered, too, when I gave him his formal briefing 2 years later about the hardware, he reminded me that he had anticipated this in exact detail.
Wow. So, Mark, alongside the PS4 Pro and the slimmer PS4, DualShock 4 is actually getting some new features as well. Tell me a little about those.
So the new controller has a few welcome improvements. There's now a light bar on the touchpad that says which player is which for multiplayer. The really cool thing is that you can now directly connect the controller to the console and send the signals by USB, which when you're playing a fighting game and you want the absolute minimum latency, it's just heaven.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you again for staying with us. I am joined by Colin from Ubisoft Montreal. Hello, sir.
Hi, how you doing?
We are talking Watch Dogs 2,
yeah,
a game that I just recently played and am pretty jazzed about.
Yeah, the event in the press event in San Francisco.
Fitting in that it's the setting of your game.
Exactly.
I feel like you guys planned that out from the start.
Yeah, we did actually. When we were actually on Watch Dogs 1, and we were doing a press event, and a bunch of us were walking around in San Francisco, and we were going, we should do a game here. We should try to do the sequel here. This city is so awesome. It's be perfect for it.
It's perfect open world fodder.
Yeah.
Before, I do want to, obviously I just want to chat with you about the game, but
Sure.
the reason why we're here today in New York City is that we just recently revealed PlayStation 4 Pro. Watch Dogs 2, of course, is going to be leveraging some of that technology. I mean, what is that like for you guys as developers? I mean, what is the Pro letting you do?
Yeah, so, well, I mean, as a developer, it's always really exciting when you have more GPU and hardware to work with because it allows you to see the game and kind of render the game out and be more true to the vision that you have. I mean, when you're developing a game, you start off with very high-res assets, and then you kind of pack them into the game, and you can sort of try to get it all to fit and fit into the frame rate and the memory and everything like that. And so when you see the game on the PS4 Pro, it's like so much closer to our vision. The details there, it just kind of pops off the screen, and I don't know, it's just kind of, it's so cool to see your work like look that shiny and spectacular.
Just glowing.
Yeah.
It just glows. And actually, I really like that because truer to our vision is, I think, an important point to make there. Because it's not just about like if you have a 4K display or not. It's also about like that hardware being able to push a little bit harder and kind of showing off what you guys have done from the source material.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Well, there's so much detail in the world, in the city, the texture detail that's in the buildings, but you know, like San Francisco is a very bright and vibrant place. You've got a lot of beautiful areas like Clarion Alley, where you've got this beautiful graffiti, and you have all these people walking around, and every area is different, and it's the differences in these details. So if you really want to feel that difference when you're looking at it on on a much higher resolution, it feels more immersive. It feels more real.
But of course, Watch Dogs 2 is also available on PS4 Standard. It's going to look great and play great on both. So let's talk about the game then, because that's obviously why we're here. Tell me a little bit about what your role was on this project.
Okay, so I'm the animation director, but I also take on the role of Living City direction as well, too. So basically, that's all of the animation for the main character, the AI in the game, but also the civilians who are their own form of AI. And then combining that with all the different clothing and kits, because it's a very diverse city, so you want to feel that each person is different as you go around. So, the people in Chinatown are different than the people in the Tenderloin, and the people in Silicon Valley are different than the people in Oakland, and they act and talk and behave and, in some ways move differently.
That's like a huge amount of responsibility, dude.
Yeah.
That is a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
How do you have the hours in the day for that?
Well, we have a really big team for that, and
team effort.
Team
not
effort
just you.
for sure. No, absolutely, and we have people that are just dedicated to going around and looking at each area, and just the time it takes to just go around the whole world and just study each area and see if it matches the planning that we did. And we have huge Bibles of artwork to kind of show us how each area is going to be different, so we can coordinate all the the character meshes and and also to coordinate with the world, because the people in the world have this symbiotic relationship.
So then tell me a little bit, because obviously this game is kind of very near and dear to me already, because it's set in a place that I've lived for so many years, right? Were you guys just chilling in San Francisco for like just forever, taking pictures, studying? I mean, tell me a little bit about the research process.
Well, we did 2 scouting trips to San Francisco, but of course, we have the edge.
That's it. That's all you needed.
It's all we needed, because.
But you have a team,
we have a team, but we also we travel there a lot.
Yeah.
Because our one of our offices is there, and but it is also a really easy city to kind of like. To study online, right? We have a lot of tools online, and we have a resource team in Paris that helped us build a research tool that allowed us to kind of go street by street, city by city. We could look at things like the crime statistics in certain areas, and all this data we brought in from public resources, and it's all streamed into this tool that we have called the World Texture Facility, and it helps us basically understand how to build a world. But yeah, a lot of it is just being on the grounds. I walked around San Francisco and the Bay Area actually for a couple of days with a big 70mm lens, just shooting photo after photo of people, just to try to understand how people are different. What is the difference that we're going to feel as you move through each area.
So then tell me a little bit about Marcus Holloway, our hero here, because he's quite different from the original hero in Watch Dogs.
Yeah, well, San Francisco is a new city with a with a different look than Chicago, and Marcus is a kind of a reflection of the Bay Area. He's a native of Oakland. And
he's Oakland.
Yeah. And native Oakland, and he's a talented young hacker. In the story, we're playing as DedSec, and DedSec was the hacker faction from Watch Dogs 1. So we've kind of flipped the stakes a little bit. And but Marcus has been singled out and profiled by the CTOS system as somebody who's dangerous, and he's not. He doesn't start out being dangerous, and so. This is kind of like part of his quest to sort of show and expose to people what big data could do to us, how that could be treating us unfairly, and how it could be singling him out, singling all people out.
Absolutely.
So this is really the story of the game is the story of Marcus, is the battle against corporations that seek to exploit us through our data, through technology.
So then. Yeah, absolutely. And then in terms of the hands-on time that I got recently, which we alluded to earlier, one of the things that I really loved was just the new ways, the kind of contextual hacks that Marcus has available to him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of new stuff in this game. I was hoping maybe you could touch on some of that.
There's the one of the big feedbacks from Watch Dogs 1 was that players wanted more depth in the hacking. So each hack that you do is contextual. And so there's a simple function that you can do. You press the shoulder button and it will hack. But if you hold it, it gives you a whole variety of options. And then you can start to combine options, right? So you can set traps for guys, and you can lure people in, and you can create some fairly complicated patterns with all the different hacking options. And most of the objects in the world are fully hackable and they're drivable. They're not binary. So this makes the game a little bit more complicated to play, but gives the player a lot more choices and freedom to play.
So what's that like to balance that out then? So, I mean, you are enabling the player more access to the world, but in turn that means that, like you said, it's a little more complicated.
Well, you have to build it in a very systemic way so that the audience, the players can basically do what they want. So you can't restrict them in any way. You have to say yes to everything. So in a way, we kind of have to just trust the player, but
don't screw this up.
Well,
grab them by the lapel.
Yeah, but then they will do things that we don't expect.
Yeah.
But that means that everybody's experience of Watch Dogs will be slightly different, right? So it's not a binary game. It doesn't play out the same way for everybody. I may go in and absolutely, destroy everybody in a layout and cause chaos and mayhem. You might go in and just sneak in with your drones and completely go in undetected, and any combination of the two things could happen.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. And then tell me a little about the alternative play styles, because that's one thing that I've, when I was talking to some of your colleagues about, I mean, the sort of difference between combat, stealth, like drone hacking. I mean, these are pretty different ways to approach one given situation, right?
They are, and you have to design the levels in a way that allows the player to kind of play and have a good experience in any way they want to play. We have a saying that we don't want to work hard to say no to the player. We want to say yes to everything. So if you want to play like all guns shooting and use your IEDs and explosives and combine everything together, you can just kind of go in there and create a lot of chaos and mayhem. But if you have the drones and you have all of the objects in the world, and as you start to combine this together, you can play this either trickster approach where you kind of use your tools to take people out, or you can just go completely ghost. And it's kind of a challenge to play it that way because it's a little bit more. You got to think a little bit more, but also the tools allow you to play in a way where you're not always falling into combat. Sometimes in a stealth game, you're forced to go in, and as soon as you get spotted, you get shot. Well, you can play most of Watch Dogs without even, a lot of areas you can play without ever even entering the layout. You can do it all remotely through the drones, through the hackable objects, and there's just like an endless number of options that you can try.
That is so rad. I love that. I'm just more and more pumped now. That was the whole purpose of this interview, by the way, just to jazz me up for launch. So then tell me a little bit about the other thing that you guys were showing off recently was the bounty mode.
Yeah,
which
the
is
online
a
mode.
Sort of online, both cooperative and competitive element to Watch Dogs 2. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
So the mode that you played was the bounty mode, but we also have seamless co-op, and we have the invasion mode as well. So there's the three modes. So the invasion mode is pretty much the same as in Watch Dogs 1. where a player will invade your game space and will try to steal your data. Then we have the co-op mode, which you played with one of our demoists, and she probably saved your butt a bunch of times.
Actually, we tried to go stealth, and it failed miserably, and I think I got her in a lot of trouble. But that's okay. We made it.
She was prepared for that.
She was.
So that, but then co-op is a great way to sort of tackle a lot of the open world stories. But then you play bounty mode. So bounty mode is where one player basically has to survive against 4 other players, but you have the whole city at your disposal. All the hacks are available, and it's just complete chaos. So if you survive the bounty mode, the rewards are super, super high. Okay. So it's
awesome.
And when we were playing it, we were demoing it. There was just like from the bounty mode area, there were just screams of joy and terror and it was so loud.
Defeat.
It was
defeat.
yeah. A game is good when it's in multiplayer when people are screaming at each other.
Well, we're almost out of time.
Sure.
What may I ask? What is your sort of takeaway from the event today at New York City? Do you have any particular highlights or something you're really excited about?
Well, I'm just really excited that we can show our games, our game Watch Dogs and also For Honor. We can show off how these games look, and we can and we're able to offer players the good PlayStation Core experience, but we're able to offer this enhanced experience. And I'm just really excited to play games that can look that good.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like, remember when the PS3 came out and it was in HD, and I remember people coming over to my house to watch me play because they couldn't believe how good it looked. And it felt like something. It felt like something.
Yeah.
It was an emotional experience in terms of seeing things that were so good looking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm also excited that I got to chat with you today.
Yeah.
So thank you, Colin.
Very cool.
It's great to have you here, and of course, it's great to have everyone watching at home. We will have a lot of this content viewable in 4K on video on demand in the days to come, so stay tuned for that. Also, of course, stay tuned for more games here from New York City, including a little look at Mass Effect Andromeda. Do not go anywhere. You will not want to miss it. Stay with us.
Hey, welcome back. We are just in the minutes following PlayStation meeting here at PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York. I am joined by Aaron, GM at BioWare. Very exciting stuff. You guys are here showing off Mass Effect Andromeda, one we have not seen a lot of yet.
No, it's been, we haven't shown much, actually. We've had a couple of E3s where we've shown trailers, but we haven't gotten into gameplay too much. But we had this chance to come here and show off just the first starts of gameplay, some of that exploration, some of those cutscenes, the quality of the characters. And so we took it, and thanks to Sony for having us. It was great to show this.
I was happy to watch it. Believe me, I think my eyes were even happier. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some of the PS4 Pro details that were talked about today and how you guys are going to fit into all that. So I've heard through the grapevine that you guys are very passionate, particularly about HDR. This is a big point for you guys. And I'm hearing this again and again. I heard it from Christian at Naughty Dog. I mean, obviously everyone's stoked about high-res TVs and 4K TVs and all this, but that stuff's great. But HDR is also really cool. So tell me a little bit about why you guys are so pumped.
Oh, I think the big reason for us being excited about HDR is when you make a science fiction world like Mass Effect, so much of it has the opportunity for color and for vibrancy and for all those things. Aliens can be bright and colorful. Places you go just look amazing. And HDR, even to my surprise, when I first started to really understand it better, really just brings all that stuff out so much better than I thought it would. I was really amazed when I first saw the difference between standard definition and HDR. It's funny, right? Because you have these TVs and you don't even know there's a difference. There's a possibility for this thing called HDR. And so you spend your time thinking, oh, yeah, I've got this thing. It's great. And then once you see HDR, you go, oh, wow. And a science fiction intellectual property like Mass Effect, a game like Mass Effect, just really makes HDR sing because of everything you can do with it.
You made a great point there. I mean, this stream is not in HDR. If you're watching this right now, you are not seeing HDR.
That's right, yeah.
You're not going to see HDR unless you come here physically to this event and see it on these TVs.
Yeah, for sure. So you do need the TV to do it. And so I just hope people give it a chance and go into their electronics shop and do that. Go to a friend's house who's got it, turn it on, and really let yourself just be just immersed in this HDR experience because it's amazing.
Yeah, it's super eye-catching. I'm super distracted staring at all this footage. But I mean, HDR, it is bleeding edge. It's brand new.
Yep.
It's in basically this year's crop of TVs, and it's just going to, the standard's going to continue to coalesce, and we're going to continue to see more and more content around.
Yeah, I'm confident it'll do whatever other consumer electronics thing does, which is it becomes the standard, and then cost comes down, and then pretty soon it's just everywhere.
That's right. That's great. So I can't let you off the hook. I got to ask you about what we're seeing here in terms of gameplay, though.
Sure, yeah.
This is the first time I've seen gameplay of Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah.
So we see some gameplay footage here. Can you give me the elevator pitch on kind of where Mass Effect Andromeda kind of picks up where the rest of the series left off?
Sure. So Andromeda opens with you traveling to the Andromeda Galaxy, hence the name. And you and a lot of other humans have fled the Milky Way Galaxy to start a new home for humanity. And you've brought along other races have pitched in too, so you see your Asari, you see Krogan, you see those things. So all of them come along too. And then when you arrive, the story begins as you arrive, and now it's your job as the Pathfinder, in this case we saw our male Pathfinder Ryder, begin to start the process of building a new home for humanity. You've got to do exploration. You've got to take on quests. You've got to, of course, it wouldn't be a Mass Effect game if there wasn't some sort of galactic level mystery you understand about when you arrive there. So you've got to figure that out. You've got to then work your way through that. And that forms the critical path of the storyline. What is this mystery? What are we going to do here in Andromeda? Will we ultimately succeed in starting a new home, or will we fail? And so that's the whole bones of the story.
It's really cool, and it seems like it's kind of a clean break from what we saw with the other Mass Effect trilogy.
Yeah, it's funny. When you look at all the hardware we have access to and everything, it just gave us a chance to tell a different story. A lot of the same things you know and love about Mass Effect are in there. N7 is there. You've got the same alien races you brought from the Milky Way species. So there's a lot of familiarity there, but it let us, by having that change to the Andromeda Galaxy, it let us go back and change some things that we really had been passionate about changing for some time and bring in new things. Jump is something that's new.
Really interesting,
yeah. And when you see that little flare on his back in HDR, it looks amazing. It just pops like that.
It's great. You also brought in what appears to be some lush alien flowers and plant life, which is really cool.
Yeah, we want to give people a real sense of what it must be like to go to a new galaxy.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be new for you there, and so really the only familiar things are the things that humanity brought with them on these arcs, these giant ships that come in. So the story has a nice dichotomy between the familiar, which is what you brought, and then everything else is alien. And one of the things we talked about in Mass Effect in the early days was creating that sense of you are the alien, this idea that you have arrived somewhere, now you're the alien. And what must that be like? That's not something we're not as familiar with in our day-to-day lives, perhaps, certainly not at this scale. So what can we do, storytelling opportunities do we have to present that for people? So I hope it's going to really open people's eyes to what it must be like in those situations.
So let's talk a little bit more about PS4 Pro.
Sure.
And in terms of how the BioWare team is kind of taking advantage of this. So what's the broad philosophy there? Like, how do you guys kind of break this down?
Well, so we like anything with more horsepower in it.
Sure.
It's really nice to be in this industry where you can reliably count on new hardware at a certain cadence. But I give credit to Sony for coming out with this stuff on a slightly faster cadence than we might have expected, because I think it just gives us a lot of opportunity and gives a lot of developers great opportunity too. We look at exactly what Mark Cerny spoke about it today. We look at the resolution, which allows things to be sharper, cleaner, more detail in them, and then we look at HDR, which is just all that visual power to pop on the screen and just really make everything more intense, everything more real. And so for those two reasons, those two axes just make for an amazing experience in Mass Effect. I think again, science fiction is just made for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
it really pushes our developers. It really makes them scratch their heads and think about what they can do and how far they can go. And it's a great time.
And meanwhile, I mean, the game is going to be available as all PS4 games on both standard PS4.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to look great there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's good. You know, we designed it originally for PS4. We had no idea about PS4 Pro when we kicked off this and did a lot of our production work. So, oh yeah, it's going to be an amazing experience on PS4. And if you choose to get PS4 Pro, so much the better. If you have the hardware to support the HDR, the hardware to support 4K, you'll just get that much better an experience. But I really love that Sony's very committed to keeping the community intact. I think that's just a really smart move, and credit to them. That really makes me happy as a game developer to know that when we make a game and release it for people, they're going to have a community players right there. They'll be in touch with, and that makes me feel really good.
I was happy to hear too a lot of the discussion around HD TV support and some of the things that are being done there. Like there's still a reason if you have an HD TV, you don't have to run out and buy a 4K TV to get a lot out of PlayStation 4 Pro.
Absolutely. I think PS4 Pro is going to offer developers a lot of chances to just tweak things, make them a little better. Everybody wants more. Every developer wants more graphical and computational horsepower in these things. So you can do really smart things there, and it just makes it that much better.
That's great. So what's next for you guys here with Mass Effect Andromeda? Like, do you have some big plans coming up? Is this the first peak of, I assume, we're going to be seeing more here to come?
Oh, I hope so, yeah. So, we're very lucky that we have a very passionate community of fans. And we've had this November 7th day, N7 day, that we've had for them for a long time now. I think this is our 5th year we've done it. And so we're really hoping everyone to come back on N7 day, and we'll talk more about Mass Effect Andromeda then.
Fascinating. I'll have to mark my calendars here. So, hey, I really appreciate you coming by, showing off Mass Effect Andromeda. We're going to have a lot more coming up tonight, so stay with us.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Of course, we are still here in New York City broadcasting, and I am talking to Scott from Crystal Dynamics. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Thank you for being here because we were talking about Rise of the Tomb Raider, 20-year celebration. I didn't want to get it mixed.
That's right, 20-year celebration.
20-year celebration. Thank you so much for being here. It's
pleasure.
Also very special because we were showing off your game on the PS4 Pro hardware.
Yes.
Before we get into the game specifics, because I hear you have a lot to say about the game. Before we get into that, tell me a little bit about how your team is leveraging this new hardware.
Sure. So for us, looking at Rise of the Tomb Raider, it's one of those things that's it's a beautiful looking game. These guys, crazy talent. The studio has just been focused on it. Partnered with IDOS Montreal, making the original version of it, and then we brought our Nixies partners on board and said, hey, we've got this PlayStation version for the 20-year celebration. We want to pull that together and be able to look at the PS4 Pro hardware and saying we, for the first time, can do something in 4K. And so for us, being able to say, look at what we can do, take all of these pixels and make these horizons go on forever. You can actually see this blobby mass of shadows now turn into the actual shape of a cross in the monastery that's actually on that hillside. Or you can actually see the scar on Lara's face when you actually have the camera close up and looking at her. So being able to do that type of stuff, something we hadn't been able to do before, right? Something we hadn't seen on consoles this way. So it was great for us to be able to dive in and say we can bring it to that truest version of what we want to show.
And during the conference we had here today, we kind of saw the camera pan around Lara, and we got to see some of the ways that the lighting just really pops. I mean, I feel like your team especially just does environments and lighting so well. Do you feel like that is also a benefit to you with this new hardware?
Yeah, I mean, for us, for sure. Just for the Rise of the Tomb Raider itself, we had to reinvent our lighting pipeline. Like the things we've done, we actually, with Neo, PS4 Pro, being able to add in better reflection.
We got to get used to that.
But being able to get enhanced reflections, get more dynamic foliage, be able to actually do things, even with tessellation, the curves to be smoother, because our worlds, like these brutally hostile environments, are part of the character, right? Lara's woman versus wild. She's actually fighting these places, so we need them to have that same personality that you can get from the close-ups, from the cinematics, all the things like looking at her from how the hair moves and how the eyes work, but all of that has to work in conjunction, otherwise you get this disparate game. So for us, it's some of the best in the business. We love these guys.
I love it. I love it. Now, 20-year celebration.
Yes.
You got to go big for a 20-year celebration.
That's right.
It sounds like you guys have gone big.
Yes,
with this game. Let's start by recapping a little bit of what you guys have done for the PS4 version.
Sure. So it's looking at, we already have a great game, right? So we're like, how do we take it, the 20-year celebration?
You already got, it's like a great sandwich.
It is, exactly, right? So we look at this, and then we've added on all this content, all this DLC, the downloadable content, starting with endurance mode, right? Well, this is our survival mode, drop you in this procedurally generated world that actually changes every time you replay it and reload it, and you're lost, you have nothing, you have to go find all the resources and craft. Well, we've added co-op to that, so now you and I can actually Tomb Raid together for the first time with all these mechanics in this endurance mode. So that's one of those new features of we can actually raid tombs and help each other out. If you die in a trap, I can revive you. So something that we hadn't done before is be able to kind of dabble in the co-op side. We've actually added in our other Baba Yaga DLC, which is our story version, more the classic, going back to the narrative, kind of supernatural elements from Tomb Raider. So that's been fun, adding that into this package. And then our third DLC pack was Cold Darkness. So this was kind of this
how much
crazy,
content
right?
did you guys do?
So adding and we're not even done, right? So putting that in, suddenly you have this kind of these Cold War era, still in the Siberian wilderness, infected enemies that have gone crazy. And so now there's a new kind of puzzle and mystery for Lara to solve. And that's all the way up to kind of the beginning of this year, we had that stuff done. Now we've added another DLC, 420 Celebration, called Blood Ties. So this is kind of that fan favorite going back to Croft Manor, saying we want Lara in an adventure storytelling world where she can actually go back to this place where she has to kind of earn it back. She's basically battling with her uncle who's trying to take it just as a property. This is her earning her inheritance. But beyond that, this is her earning her birthright. This is that kind of baton pass from what were my dad's secrets? What was he looking for, passing the baton as I find his Batcave to become my Batcave of all the secrets and all the mysteries that are in this world that I want to get through. And then on top of that, just for fun, since we already had this cool manor location, we're like, you know what? Let's add Lara's Nightmare. So you can replay this kind of zombie horde mode inside of the manor, because why not, right? We're already there. We might as well put that on top of it.
Yeah.
And that's not even, even beyond that, you could take Lara's Blood Ties DLC and you can play it in PSVR.
Say what, Scott?
Yeah, see? Set up for you, Ryan. But the idea of once you're in Blood Ties, you can play it third person. We've had users come in, play it through on third person and love it. But we've actually had those same people come back, put on the PSVR, and now play it through VR mode.
Yep.
And they take almost twice as long because they love it. They look at everything. They look at behind every tree, behind every rock, what's over here in this corner of this room. And we were like, well, they've already played it. They'll probably blow through this quickly. But in the end, they loved it, and they actually went through that kind of level of detail with it. That on top of character skins. I don't know if you've seen some of the classic skins we're adding in there. So you have the low polygon Lara, like an original version of Lara. We had fans vote on the kind of character skins they wanted. So playing in this 4K version with an original low poly Lara.
Kind of some beautiful irony there.
It is. It's weird juxtaposition. Like, this cinematic's awesome. And then the low poly Lara pops up. Like, okay. So putting all that together, we're over 50 hours of content now with everything slammed on top of it. All the replay modes, expedition mode, cards you can make your own missions. I mean, just crazy amount of stuff inside of this package.
But is there like a birthday cake? I mean, it's a 20-year celebration.
There's no official birthday cake.
Okay,
no,
so it does not come. It doesn't ship with a cake.
It does not ship with a cake. Sorry.
You know what? Maybe for the 30-year celebration.
So it only has some TRC standards. We can't ship cake in a box. There's some store shelf life thing.
Somehow it might not be safe for the consumer.
May not be safe to consume.
So then let's go back to the game, the basic experience, because as you were saying that you guys built on that.
Yep.
I mean, tell me a little bit about what it was like to return to Lara's story here in Rise of the Tomb Raider. And do something that was such a critical success.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, certainly for us, this is the true sequel from our 2013 reboot of Lara Croft. So, partner with Eidos Montreal, with Crystal Dynamics, together we've taken her story and extended that. This is the first kind of tomb raiding expedition Lara has been on. So this has gone from being a survivor to now being kind of that ascending the path for being a tomb raider.
Right.
So this is her saying, I found some of my dad's old diaries. I found some old notes, and actually I'm going to follow this path that he started laying out. And she found one word. She's found Trinity. It's like, who's Trinity? Who's this mysterious group of bad guys that somehow are connected to my father, and what does it mean? So exactly. So now you have this tingling feeling like, ooh, there's a mystery to unravel, and she finds this name, this lost city of Katesh. Great kind of tapping into the Siberian wilderness and taking her into a completely different element than she'd been in before, right on Yamatai, the island, and trapped and Survivor. Now this is the woman versus wild charging into this location and saying, I'm on a quest. I'm after the truth. I want to find this. So get to see her ascending along that path to becoming the Tomb Raider.
That's amazing. And, of course, I mean, an amazing-looking game. Again, you know, just both on the PS4 standard model and on PS4 Pro, which I like to reiterate is that you'll be able to play the 20-year celebration on both consoles, and it's going to look amazing.
It all comes in the one box.
Tell me just a little bit, like, give me just a little bit of insight before we start to wrap up about, like, your team in terms of the art, technical, like, engineering. I mean, how do all these teams kind of mesh together to create something that just seems so crisp and beautiful?
Well, thank you for that. Certainly,
you're welcome.
One of the things, like a philosophy for us as the studios, right, the screen doesn't lie.
Yeah.
So we all look at it, if it's great on the sticks, it's great on the screen, then it's real. And so we constantly push ourselves. We did it with Definitive Edition when we actually had done that for our first kind of entry into PS4, and then looking at PS Pro and saying, what can we do now? Everything from the visual quality and the aesthetics to even 3 different viewing modes. So if you don't have a 4K TV, like this beautiful thing behind us, which is awesome, right?
You don't have this in your...
I don't have that one in my office yet. So Sony...
I mean, I could ask.
If Sony's asking, you know, we'll take one home with us. We got it on the plane.
It has to fit in your suitcase.
Yeah, I don't know. We fold it. But looking at, you know, the 4K resolution, but we also have 2 other viewing modes if you don't have 4K, but you have a PS Pro. We have a 1080p, we call it high frame rate mode. So we actually lock you at 1080p, but unlock the frame rate. And so you can go north of 45 frames or better. So it's that really smooth, silky play that if you're a speedrunner, particularly if you want just that really great, crisp action sequences, there's a mode for that. And then if you move over a notch on the slider, which you can switch any time during the gameplay, you go to Enhanced Visuals mode. Enhanced Visuals is 1080p locked and locked at 30 frames, but we throw every rendering technique we have at it. The entire kitchen sink is in there for multi-pass rendering and shading and PBR lighting, like everything we can do to just up the resolution of the pixel quality inside of the game. And then, of course, you have 4K, which just you can see for miles.
Oh, man, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. Before we wrap up, I just want to ask, what is, like, maybe big takeaway, like, Scott's favorite pick of, like, what is coming in the future of gaming and, you know, especially with the PS4 Pro hardware?
This is the future of gaming, right? This is a month away, right? October 11th, so we're still a month and a few days, man. So for me, this is the future right now.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it. And, of course, thank you, everyone, for watching at home. We will have more coming up pretty soon here from the New York City event. So please do not go anywhere. Stay with us.
Hey, welcome back to PlayStation Meeting. We are here. It's only been just an hour or so since the big keynote ended, and we're here with some more graphics experts from gaming. And I want to introduce all of you guys. We have Makeel here from Guerrilla Games. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got Peter from WB Games. WB Interactive Entertainment, I believe it is, right?
That's right, yep.
I looked that up last night. And we got John from Tripwire Games. Tripwire Interactive. I looked that up last night as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, PS4 Pro, that's the word of the day here. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how PS4 Pro is kind of offering developers a new tool set. You know, powerful new tools that you guys are going to be able to leverage in a bunch of different ways. So we're going to be talking a lot about that here. But fundamentally, you know, what does something like PS4 Pro let you do that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise?
I'm going to go first.
Whoever wants to jump in, it's an open forum here.
I think that we're making Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a game that it's trying to look like BBC nature documentary almost. We're trying to get close to that. And,
I like that.
And of course, like it's this allows us to just get that one step closer. I mean, we're already doing really, really well on the normal PS4, but the extra fidelity we can get and the extra color range, showing like nature scenes where the sunlight's very important. Those are the things we can just like take a couple of extra steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, same for the studios that I work with. You know, whether it's at Monolith, where we're exploring Shadow of Mordor, it's really about player immersion and player choice. You know, so we let the player choose between quality or resolution, and if you choose quality, it's pushing draw distances farther than ever. You know, so it's really about just trying to immerse the player into those environments and allow them to re-experience Mordor, or like an example like Rocksteady with an Arkham VR, like, you know, getting those scenes crisper on PlayStation Pro is going to be really cool.
That's a good point. We haven't talked a lot about it yet today, but PlayStation 4 Pro is going to have benefits for PlayStation VR. Obviously, PlayStation VR absolutely designed from the ground up for the original PS4, the standard PS4. But PS4 Pro is going to bring some benefits. Exactly. Crisper, more fluid, and things like that, the games that support it. So great point there.
Yeah, so I'm really excited, you know, with the PlayStation 4 Pro. You know, I mean, obviously one of the big benefits is 4K, and we've heard a lot about that. And in our game, we're doing 4K. It looks so cool on a 75-inch TV, amazing.
I know.
But one of the things that people haven't talked about a lot is HDR.
Yeah.
You know, in our game, we have a lot of dark and creepy spaces, and traditionally you've had to really limit how dark you can make a gameplay space in a video game because you get that banding, it doesn't look good, so you're kind of blocked at making kind of realistic dark scenarios that a real human being would be able to see in. So in dark games like we have, you can really turn that down, and it looks just like a real dark area would. So there's a lot of things that you can do with that, and I think game developers are going to take advantage of that moving forward.
Yeah,
that's a great point about HDR, and let's talk a little bit more about that. But I do want to point out, for those watching at home, this stream is not in HDR, and the footage that you're seeing on the stream is not in HDR, and it's not in 4K. So
thank God.
Not yet.
It's a really hard sell though, because we were looking at it. We you know, 4K, it sounds like, you know, got more pixels, and HDR, we knew sort of like technically what it would do. And until we got the demo up and running, and you sit down in front of like a really giant TV and you have it, and you're like, you could actually be playing this at home. And, you know, until you see it, you don't get that impact. We can show it off a little bit because you can sort of like imagine what it would look like, but you really have to see it.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a lot about that. So that's what we're trying to do is, you know, help try to, as best we can, articulate things that are not possible to be seen just yet on your phone or on your computer at home.
Yeah, no, it is so hard to describe, right? Because like when I'm playing Shadow of Mordor and I'm in the Sea of Nirn and I'm creeping up on an Uruk and I'm in those lush grasses, just how much how that feels in that super high resolution, just, you know, it makes you want it, and it makes me love re-experiencing it.
Yeah, I think for us, one of the things that we saw was when we started playing with the PS4 Pro, playing the game that way. In our game Killing Floor 2, we have some classes that are based around shooting enemies that are really far away. And you know, you think about 4K and higher resolution is just eye candy, but really we started to notice seeing those enemies far away, they had so much more detail, like, oh, I can see what that is. That's one of these guys, and I need to shoot him now instead of this guy.
Yeah, the faraway and the close-ups. You know, the close-ups and like just seeing those details.
Yeah, when you see the monsters in your face and you just see, they're so much more scary when you see that extra detail.
I think it's interesting to hear that like it's going to do different things for different games. Like you're talking about dark spaces, And we have, I mean, we get benefit when we have like both dark shadows on screen and bright skies. You can keep both of them. Normally, like you have to HDR compress them, so you pick one or the other, and now we can get both. But like it sounds like your bias is much more towards the dark one, and we're much more towards the bright one because we have much more sunlight.
Yeah, and we get to play with both because we have day-night cycles, and to push both as far as we can. We're just getting started.
Yeah, for our game, we did a lot of work with dynamic lights, so grenades will blow up lights, and monsters can scream and blow up lights. So we have very bright areas, but we had to limit how dark they could get.
Right.
And now we can push that to another level. So it's exciting.
It's a broader palette at the end of the day.
Basically,
There's more you can do. You've got more
light, more
freedom.
dark.
You've got more choices as developers.
Yeah.
And speaking of choice, let's talk a little bit about the choice that users are going to have if they want to pick up PS4 Pro. This is not something where you need to have a 4K TV to get a lot of benefit out of it, and quite the contrary. I think a lot of people are going to be picking this up that have HD TVs. So let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits you guys are seeing on that front.
Yeah, well, I mean, Shadow, again, is a great example there because what we get, we have a resolution mode, which is perfect for those players who have that HD TV and the PlayStation Pro. They can still take full advantage of the high-end textures that we've done, and like it smooths out all the edges. Everything just is going to look better because we're pulling from that library of textures on that super high end. So either way, you're getting that choice.
Yeah, I think it's I think the most obvious thing to do if people have a 1080p TV and they have a PlayStation Pro, we can just render out a 4K screen, and when we then super sample it down to 1080p, we were looking at it and it looks much nicer because that like super sampling is like the best anti-aliasing you can get. It gets all the texture detail, all the shader detail. You get like much better, much less aliasing and specters and stuff, which is really hard to get. But I think a lot of developers like us are going to be looking at like with so many knobs to turn. If people want 1080p, we can like make the frame rate. Well, of course, like we aim to not have a frame drop, but in the rare occasion that it happens, we might smooth one of those out. We'll probably like up the resolution of shadow maps. We can do like anisotropic filtering. So we'll twist all of those knobs until we'll find something that is really, really good for people who have that TV. And it could also be somebody who has a 4K TV, but they have their couch very far away, and they go like, I'd rather have an image that like is better in a different way. But
that choice message is interesting. John, you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's for people with just a standard HD TV, it's going to be a smoother gameplay experience. And as Dave mentioned, you can super sample and make everything look more crisp. I mean, there's really some good advantages, even if you've got a standard HD TV.
It's an important point, and one I think we're going to be talking a lot more in the days to come here. I also want to spend a little bit of time here talking about the future. So, I mean, this has just been revealed today, PlayStation 4 Pro, and we're seeing the earliest work we have seen yet, and it looks really, really good. And so what I'm curious about is what happens as you guys start to get more time, more hands-on development time with PS4 Pro? What's that going to mean? What's your prediction?
I think that the biggest thing where you see the most advantage, people are going to get to grips with HDR color, because currently we've been looking at like what people do in cinema and movie even. This is like the cutting edge of where color is. A lot of people are not used to grading in HDR, and we're now getting to grips with that, and we can see like we're getting better every month or like every week. Leading up to this conference, and we get a toolbox of what we can do with color. And I think we will slowly, I don't know what the end result of it will be. So far we've seen that everything starts to look nicer. We're getting like more beautiful vistas, the sun and the light and everything starts to blend together better. And I think also ways to use 4K better. I mean, we started to add some details extra in certain places, and you could not see the effect as well on a 1080p TV. So I think we'll just be learning how to make better use of like the higher fidelity that we have.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
go ahead. Yeah, I mean, we're at a studio like NetherRealm where we're experimenting. Those,
one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I love those guys.
Those fighting scenes. For Injustice 2, they always have to be close up and those super moves. But we can really start to explore how much we can push the environments, bring those environments to life, and also, we'll take the cinematics, which we sample at a lower frame rate, and we really start to push those cinematics back up to that fighting quality that you see. So we're starting to play with that, and we're just getting started. So I think in HDR, to your point, is just experimenting with that color depth. That's an area we're just starting to explore as game developers.
I think one of the great things for the players is just typically with a console cycle, you have 5 to 8 years, and they really have to wait a really long time before they get to experience more power, more something out of the next generation. I think having something, whatever you want to call it, a mid-cycle refresh, whatever you want to call it, this is great because gamers are going to be able to have experiences they wouldn't have been able to have without the PS4 Pro. And I'm excited as a developer to create those experiences.
Yeah. What's exciting to me here is the fact that, PlayStation actually just announced that all PS4s going all the way back to the very first console sold in 2013 are all getting HDR. Which is something I was not exactly expecting. That kind of came out of thin air, but very, very cool, especially because I've been hearing this all day. HDR. This is really interesting stuff.
I think also for us, we never get new toys in the middle of a console cycle. Like, you get what you get. Sometimes you get more understanding of the console, but something just like completely new and exciting halfway through is not something that you would normally get.
And it allows us to go back and dial knobs on things we've shipped before, or go forward and really explore the future of it. So both ways, it's exciting.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, the things you can do with light and dark, you'll be able to do it across both platforms. And for us, getting a little technical is, our engine already does everything in HDR behind the scenes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So now we have a platform to bring that all the way to the screen.
You almost had to compress it down a little bit.
Yeah, we sort of we did it in HDR, and then we just had at the very end to make it not HDR.
Yeah. Right.
So now we just, send that all the way to the screen.
Yeah. I think it's similar most engines internally are like physically based, are completely HDR. We just have this cap at the end because, you have to deal with a display that cannot display what we internally calculate.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to note, like, what we're seeing here on these HDR sets is something that nobody can, it's something that people haven't ever seen before, because we're having a problem with the projector because cinemas cannot display this sort of like color range. This is more advanced than anything you've ever seen before. The only thing that comes close to it is real life. So it's also, when you demo it to people, they go like, oh, blah, blah. So when I'm looking at HDR and you turn it off and they go like, wow, that's a really big difference because it looks so natural you don't see it. So, I mean, maybe that's a pro and a con that it looks so normal that you don't see it. But like, once you've seen it you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it.
You can't go back.
Can't go back.
It's hard to go back.
The thing, because the human eye really, when it looks at a game, when it looks at something on a screen, it picks up the things that don't look real.
Right.
Yeah.
And so with HDR, it pulls back the veil. It looks that much more real because the eye's not picking up that the colors aren't quite right.
Yeah.
I think I might be getting more sensitive to it now, which maybe like it's a might be a shame.
HDR sensitivity. We've got a new. New issue here.
Right.
It is fun to hear all the love for HDR. I mean, everyone's super excited for 4K and the high resolutions and all that, and that's kind of a no-brainer. But this HDR thing, I mean, this is a term, I haven't seen it until today. This is my first time seeing HDR.
Really?
Yeah. It's my
What do you
first.
think?
I work at PlayStation. I think it looks amazing. It looks great. And again, these are games that are in development. They're not finished.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is the first taste. It's the first sample. But yeah, it's a term I've only started hearing in the last couple months. It's so new, but it seems very, very clear it's here to stay.
I think also it's going to, as you see, like there's a lot of games in development. You're going to see a lot of adoption quite soon because it's relatively easy to develop for. And most of our engines internally already do this sort of stuff. I think, I'd be surprised if not like the vast majority of the games would be in HDR very soon.
Interesting.
Yeah, and like I said before, it's about bringing those environments to life. So like in WB Montreal, where we're exploring like a DC universe and starting to push into those boundaries. Like imagine how the capes and the lighting and the smoke effects are going to look.
Sounds like a good fit.
Yeah.
John, I'm kind of curious from your perspective because you're Tripwire is an independent studio.
Yep.
So what is it like working with a PS4? I mean, or a PS4 Pro? I mean, does this add like a lot of new workload for you guys, or is it relatively streamlined for you to work on something like this?
So I mean, I wish I could say it was no work.
Yeah.
But with great, everything that you want to do takes a little bit of work. But it really wasn't that bad. I mean, we got the kits and we dove in and really it was, started cranking things up, started finding the boundaries like, okay, we can't quite take it that far, bring it back. And, but it really wasn't too bad. Yeah.
That's cool.
I think it will get easier over time. I mean, we started to experiment, and there's lots like sharing between the different developers about rendering techniques and stuff, and how to do stuff. And
that's it.
I think within, give it like 4 or 5 months time or something, there will be so much common knowledge in the gaming industry that people know how to do stuff, so it will be even easier. And I think that you'll see the learning curve in like how we use it, not getting it to run, but actually like what do you do with it?
That's it. I mean, you talk about not turning back the clock. I mean, you've given this new tool to engineers and artists, so there's no way to turn back the clock because they're just diving in and they're making the best use of it.
That's great. So we're almost out of time, but I wanted to save a minute or two to talk about individually, each of you, what personally excites you most about working with PS4 Pro? So maybe you could start first, Mikhail.
What excites me most? What excites me most is like seeing something that we've made and we had a vision for what we wanted to achieve, and then all of a sudden, like almost for free, you get something that's closer to what you wanted to achieve. It's like, we already put in all the art and everything, and we just had to do some coding, and then we get something and it looks much more like what we're trying to make. So it's really exciting. Like it's just a better version of your game. It's like it's still the same, but it's like it's a better
same game, but better,
yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
I always feel like we've done our job well if we develop games that you dream about when you go to sleep. And I think that on PlayStation 4, to push the power of the graphics, it just puts images into the gamers' minds that, are just going to last that much longer, are going to enrich their gaming experience that much more. So for us, we're just excited to explore this new power.
More vivid visuals. Yeah, that's something we've been hearing a lot today. John?
Yeah, I think for us, when you're creating a game, you sort of have this vision in your head of what your game's going to look like when it's done. And you have to make some compromises along the way, and it doesn't quite look like the way that you wanted when you started. So what excites me about the PlayStation 4 Pro is we're so much more closer to that initial vision of what we wanted the game to look like. Yeah. And I think the gamers will really see that and appreciate it. They'll see it in the high-resolution textures and the 4K and the HDR and the smoother frame rates and all the benefits they're going to get.
So fewer constraints, fewer boundaries.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. I like
Raising
that.
the bar.
Gents, I really appreciate you joining us here today.
Thanks for your time.
I hope you all get a chance to go out back here and check out all the different games that are playing.
Awesome.
And we have one more game interview here for you today from PlayStation Livecast. Stay with us. It's For Honor.
Hello, my friends. We are almost done here in New York City, but what better way to start closing out the show than with For Honor? I am joined by Luke from Ubisoft Montreal. Hello, sir.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure.
It was fun to chat with you, but now we can really get to the good stuff.
Yes.
Because we were talking about For Honor, which we showed off during the conference running on the PlayStation 4 Pro hardware. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the game, tell me a little bit about how your team is using the PS4 Pro and kind of what it means to that game.
For us, what it means is extra power. And this extra power will allow us to display more details on the character, on the environment. For example, on this footage right now, it's all the environment. You can see the reflection on the ground. It's much more detailed. A little bit after, you'll see the foliage, the vegetations. So we can get more detail, and that's the thing I was talking about the vegetations. You can see more details on the image. So that's where we're pushing the limit, and we're pushing the graphic power of the PS4 Pro.
And not just in the environment, but also in character models.
Exactly. Also in the character. That's a good point.
Yeah.
In terms of all their texture, because we have a lot of different materials in the character.
Yeah.
Having Knight, Viking, and Samurai, it brings different flavors. So the leathers, the armor of the warriors, for example, the Raider right now. You can see the definition on the armor, the Kinsei, same thing. So that's where we're trying to push to have this extra level of immersion into the game.
Absolutely. Now, of course, PS4 Pro hardware is awesome, but we need those games. And For Honor, looking great. Tell me a little bit about what you guys set out to do with this sort of melee combat game.
our objective with For Honor is to bring people to live the experience of a dangerous battlefield with legendary warriors. So that's why we have the Knight, the Viking, and the Samurai. So that's the experience we want to bring. And for that, we decided to use the Knight, Viking, and Samurai, the three maybe most famous warriors out there. And also we developed a new mechanic for combat, which is the Art of Battle.
Tell me about it.
Yeah,
perfect transition.
It's almost if we rehearsed it.
I know. It's almost like we talked about it before.
Exactly.
Who knew?
The Art of Battle, it's a way for us to make you really feel your sword in your hand. So when you fight, depending on how you position your guard, it will impact how you block and how you attack. And one key thing in For Honor is a lot of games in melee action, it's about hitting, and it's as fast as you can. In For Honor, yes, of course, you need to hit your enemy, but it's about blocking also. Because any martial arts, one of the first things they will teach you is how to block an incoming attack. So in For Honor, that's very, very key. How you will block the attack and then take the advantage to hit your enemy. So the Art of Battle allows us to do that, and that's really, really working very well.
Now, that's, of course, I mean, there's going to be some familiar aspects to For Honor for people that play a lot of, like, third-person action games. But as you say, the Art of Battle kind of lends a unique twist to the experience. How do you guys kind of train the players? I mean, this is a new skill set that people need to develop, right? I mean, what's it like developing that training system?
The training system is good because we've ran so far. We've been in a lot of different events. So last year at E3, this year at E3, Gamescom, both of them. PlayStation Experience in December of last year.
You guys are everywhere.
So, yeah.
And it's always you, I bet.
I've been in most of those events, I must say. So having people play the game, we develop a tutorial, so a practice mode, so we can see how people get their hands on the game. We've done 2 live periods so far. So one in October of last year, we did a technical test 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So it's a way for us to really see how people can, their onboarding process, how they will learn to play. And it's quite impressive. I must say, one anecdote. In the technical test.
Share 2. You can share 3. I don't care. Share as many anecdotes as you want.
In the technical test we had 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks, there was one guy, one of our devs was playing during lunchtime with a player, an external player, and he got his ass kicked so bad. And the guy's been playing the game for 4 days. We've been playing it for 3 to 4 years. So we brought one more guy in. Paff, out. We got one more in. Paff, out. So we had to go to get one of our dev testers, one of the best player, and he came in and he managed to finally beat the guy. So within a very short period of time, our players managed to go very high in skills. So that's very impressive. So the onboarding process works. But it's a new system. So give yourself a couple of minutes to get it
loosened up.
Exactly.
Stretching.
But once you get it, that's where the fun, really will peak.
And what do you think it is about sort of that melee combat that makes For Honor such a unique experience?
I think the intimate aspect of the battle. Yes, the combat system, as I talked about, the Art of Battle is playing a big role into that. That's for one. 2, the warriors we have, like Knight, Viking, and Samurai.
Which we need to talk about. We'll circle back to that.
Yeah, they're really, really cool. And the intimacy of the combat when you're in a duel, that's where you want to live that moment of being like mano to mano. It's okay, let's get this done.
Yeah.
So
tell me a little bit about the factions then, because you guys brought in some heavy hitters here.
Yes, Knight, Viking, and Samurai.
Literally, I guess.
Sorry?
Literally, they're heavy hitters.
Exactly. So you see, that's the duel I was talking about before. So when you're in that duel, it's really, really fun. So Knight, Viking, and Samurai, they're probably the most popular warriors of all time. There are a lot of different warriors, but Knight, Viking, and Samurai, and I'm just curious, are you a Knight, a Viking, or a Samurai?
You can't put me on the spot like that, Luke. I can't just choose a favorite. I barely played the game, and I have to pick. I feel like I'm kind of a big Game of Thrones fan, so maybe I feel like I pick Knight.
Okay, that's
good.
Is
that fair?
Yeah, it's fair. So we have those 3 factions, and in all of the faction, we have 4 different warriors per faction. So we have those 12 warriors, all different weapon set, different animation set, different customization and progression. So all of them are extremely deep to learn and play. And that's a great thing about the game is once you go from one to another, yes, the basic gameplay mechanics are the same, but you need also to know how the Raider is fighting versus the Orochi, because one is an assassin, so super quick. The other one is a vanguard, so a balanced offense and defense. So that's how we bring our factions, and also in the world, because in the footage we saw today, we saw the environment from Citadel Gate, which is a knight map, but also from Overwatch map, which is a samurai one. So we have knight, Viking, and samurai environment. Like this one is a knight map. So
beautiful.
So that's why that's how all the factions will live in For Honor.
So before we wrap up, I do kind of want to talk a little bit about the modes that you guys have, because there's a lot of stuff you guys are putting in this game. You're telling me that there is like a single-player campaign, and of course multiplayer is a core element. Can you tell us a little bit about the different modes?
Yes, obviously. We have the story campaign. So in the story campaign, you will live this tale through Knight, Viking, and Samurai, so all of them. At E3 this year, we revealed our story campaign with Apollyon, the villain, who's a...
devious.
A bit evil in the background.
Just a bit.
And the game modes, we have 5 different game modes. We have Duel, 1v1. We have Brawl, it's 2v2. We have Skirmish, Elimination, both are 4v4. One is a team last man standing or team deathmatch. And we have Dominion. Dominion is the game mode that we are showing today, that we showed in the event so far. It's an objective-based mode in which you need to control areas to capture points, to score points, kill your enemies, and once you go over the 1,000-point threshold, your enemies won't respawn anymore. So you need to track them and kill them to win the match.
This sounds very violent, sir. There's some violence going on in this game. Some action.
We're in a battlefield. It's a battlefield with legendary warriors, with the two-axis guy, with the Dachi. So, yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah. So before we go, tell me a little bit about, we're here in New York City, revealing the PlayStation 4 Pro. What's a highlight for you? What do you think is something that kind of resonates with you and gets you fired up for the future of the PlayStation platform?
But I think for us, it's being able to deliver a deeper experience, a more beautiful experience. So people, when they come into our world, the immersion will just reach a new level. So for us, it's great. I think being immersed in that beautiful and fantastic world, in this great world, is something that players will really, really like.
Awesome. Well, Luke, thank you so much for being here with us. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We have a little bit more before we go here in New York City, so do not go anywhere. Stay with us.
Hey, welcome back. We are just about at the end of our show here. We were broadcasting live from PlayStation Theater, and of course, big day, Mr. Ryan Clements.
It was kind of a big day, Sid.
Yeah, PlayStation 4 Pro.
It was good to be here. There was a lot of announcements, but more importantly, it's just really cool to see all those different games and all their interpretations of the PS4 Pro hardware. I have to get used to this. I'm still not getting used to saying it.
PS4 Pro, baby.
There it is.
So, I mean, just there was a lot to take in tonight.
Yeah.
We had everything from Mark Cerny up on stage, kind of walking us through like the approach to 4K TV and HDR and what all this is going to mean for games and for developers. And we saw that. We heard the news about HDR coming to every PS4, going all the way back to 2013 launch day. That's pretty huge.
Yes.
So you don't even, there's lots of folks out there that have 4K TVs, and if you don't want a PS4 Pro, you want to stick with your PS4, you can still get HDR.
I mean, I think that's one of the important takeaways is that, PS4 Pro is a part of the PlayStation 4 ecosystem.
That's key, yeah.
And the other thing is that there's like the PS4 Pro isn't just for people that have the 4K sets.
That's correct.
Like there's a lot of benefits, including like the increased performance and as we were talking about HDR that like are really interesting and that we can incorporate into the gaming platform. So I'm kind of psyched.
It's exciting stuff. I've been talking to a lot of honestly like experts in graphics here tonight.
They know more than us.
They know a lot more than us. I know a thing or two, but
just a few.
But these folks were really talking shop here, and it was pretty interesting to hear them talking about techniques such as super sampling. So folks that have an HD TV at home, they want to pick up a PS4 Pro. There's huge benefits to that, depending on the way the developer taps into all that power. So it's everything from, hey, we're going to basically kind of internally render a high resolution image, and then we're going to kind of shrink it down for your 1080p TV. Cleans up the image like crazy, breathes new life into it, makes it look terrific even on an HD TV.
Yeah.
But of course, if you've got the latest and greatest 4K TVs, it's
going to sizzle.
It's going to sizzle. We saw Horizon Zero Dawn looking absolutely stellar. And I do think, here's part of the challenge here is we're not broadcasting in HDR, we're not broadcasting in 4K.
Yeah.
So we have to use a little theater of the mind here, right?
Envision, if you will.
That's correct. So backstage, we've got members of the press, we've got media left and right. They're trying all these games out. They're taking a look at what's there. That's in HDR, it's in 4K. And I had a chance to wander around and get a look at a few of these.
Yeah.
And I got to say, Horizon Zero Dawn is looking stellar.
Is that your top pick?
It's hard to choose.
I know, it's hard to choose.
It's hard to choose. another one was For Honor, the Ubisoft
we
combat
just
game.
were showing that game, and it's just like the level of detail in both characters and environments is amazing. And actually, that one of the when we were talking earlier, one of the developers said something which I think is really pertinent and a really good illustration of what the PS4 Pro can do. It's not just like a technical powerhouse. It's also the fact that it allows the developers to be a little more true to their vision.
Yeah.
And that was the language that he used, and I actually really liked that. To me, that sounded really good because it's about, when they create these, like, concept art and these, like, original, look at this.
This is, I can't listen to you because this looks really
you're like,
great. But anyway.
Silence. But, when they create these source assets, like the concept artists and all these programmers and engineers, when they build this stuff, sometimes that's that vision has to be compressed and changed in order to accommodate the hardware. With the PS4 Pro, we can push closer to that sort of source materials, that original vision.
I heard that a lot too, and I certainly heard. I mean, everyone's excited about the high resolution, the 4K displays, no question about it. But at the same time, I heard just as much love for HDR.
Yeah,
that is a huge theme coming out of today's show. And again, it's something. It's not on the stream here, so it's something you got to see in person. But it is a stellar technology. It is eye popping. It makes a huge difference. The range between lightness and dark and the color spectrums is just far more expressive. It breathes just a lot of life into the image.
And you were seeing that in Mass Effect Andromeda today, right?
Absolutely.
Just like,
absolutely.
Especially with a sci-fi game, I feel like that's where it can really shine.
We talked exactly about that. I've heard through the grapevine, BioWare very passionate about HDR. They love 4K too. But here's some more footage of that. And this is also very noteworthy because this is a first really good look at the gameplay. At least a slice of the gameplay that we're going to see in Mass Effect Andromeda coming to PS4, and obviously with PS4 Pro support. Lot of info to take in here today. So what were some of your highlights that you've seen?
I mean, really, it was Horizon. It was actually, you know what? I also love talking about Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah.
Because that is also, of course, it's coming soon to PS4. But then there's also the PS4 Pro, in which they can again push a little further, a little more, and get more of that detail to our hometown of San Francisco.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
You can saunter on into Oakland too and visit me.
That's right. I can walk right in there. Just walk into your house.
Oh, hi.
I think it's interesting too, just hearing all the different ways that the developers can harness this power and this tech. So, you know, we're hearing, of course, it's really sort of the message here around the PS4 Pro has a lot to do with increased visual fidelity. And smoother frame rates.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it boils down to.
You do not need a 4K set to,
and you don't need
have
a 4K
some of the
set.
benefits. Yeah.
HDR, that kind of goes into the visual fidelity, the 4K, or even HD TV with super sampling and some of those kinds of technologies. So it is fascinating stuff. We've never seen anything quite like this in the home console market, but it's really, really cool to see something that is very much a member of the PS4 family.
Yeah.
But kind of can deliver these new experiences, really kind of push it to the brink. So exciting stuff. I'm really stoked. I hope we get a couple minutes to take another.
I know, and it was just cool to be here in New York City, like on the ground floor, being able to see these folks, you know, see the reveal for the first time, go check the games out, running on displays, which this may be slightly larger than what the normal gamer would have.
I don't know.
His or her apartment.
I'm gonna have to do some online price
maybe a little shopping is in order.
A little shopping is in order. But yeah, it's really cool, really exciting. I'm glad we could come. It's really interesting. Feels kind of historic in a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us on PlayStation Livecast. We're here from PlayStation Meeting at the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York. A quick note for you: even though the stream hasn't been in 4K, we haven't been able to show off HDR. It's just not feasible. We are going to have 4K versions of a lot of the games available on PlayStation's YouTube page. So go ahead, subscribe, keep your eyes peeled. You know, they'll be coming out over the following hours and days. So stay tuned. I hope you can get a look at it. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time.
Farewell, my love, we'll be together soon. Take heed, sweet love, you'll never be alone. I'm watching from the heavens to keep you safe from harm.